In NASCAR 25, we really saw the opportunity to do something different with the race day experience. So having worked on a bunch of different NASCAR games in my career, it's always been sort of the same flow when you get to the race weekend of, practice, qualify, and race. And while we wanted to have those features in there, obviously, we wanted to make them all feel very unique and memorable.
So to execute there, we've actually taken certain areas of each track and really built these scenes where we can show the car models in a different way. Traditionally we've only shown the car models once you actually get on track, and now we're using them almost like a character in a movie.
So one of the ways that we've done that is we're doing everything at the racetrack from the driver's perspective. When you get to the racetrack, you're down in the pits, you're in the garage, you're intermingling with your crew members, with your team, you're in your car. There's no concept of what is a normal race day UI where you're just clicking through menus. You're actually the driver at the track in your car, interacting with your crew chief and your spotter.
Everybody knows that iRacing is all about authenticity. It's not just a marketing slogan, right? The company was literally founded on this notion of being authentic first and realistic. We've talked a lot about car models and track models and laser scanning, but we haven't really gotten into the sound yet. And when you come to these NASCAR tracks, the sound is everything, right? In NASCAR 25, every engine sound that you hear is actually recorded from those real world race cars. And one of the things we're super excited about this year is the spotters. You have not one, but two real world Cup spotters that we're working with in Josh Williams and TJ Majors, and we've learned so much from these guys.
Playing these games enabled me to become part of a community that gave me an opportunity to get involved in something that I love.
My grandfather was general manager at the Motor Speedway for about 25 years. So just grew up around the track, listening to radios, didn't really know anything different. My parents they did sell souvenirs for Del Senior. So for 20 years they did that. So just always being around it.
Being involved in a game like this is unique, man, and it's really cool. I don't think, it's not an opportunity that comes along to everyone all the time.
So spotting started late 70s, early 80s. A few drivers just wanted an extra set of eyes just to kind of see the rest of the track where they couldn't see it. And then everybody started realizing it was a benefit for them. So then everybody kind of ended up with them every week. And then NASCAR finally made it mandatory, I think early 90s. Some bigger accidents, people got hurt, so they made them mandatory now. So there has to be a spotter on the roof before they'll let your car leave pit road.
So one of our big focuses with NASCAR 25 is this notion of immersion and emotion. And we're really tapping into the emotional side of what it's like to be a driver. And one of the examples with Junior was we asked him, you go to a race weekend, when are you most stressed out? And his answer really shocked us. You'd think it was, being 4 wide at Talladega for 4 or 5 hours straight, and actually it was qualifying. And he said, when I'm the most stressed out, I'm actually sitting on pit road, I'm about to go out, I hear that car go by before me, official waves me on, and I know it's my turn. He's like, I got this taped up car, I'm ready to send it down into turn 1 and just see what happens. And not only that, but I'm the only car on the track, and I've got the entire industry watching me. And it was really that sort of light bulb from a design perspective that was like, oh, we need to put a lot more emotion into not just the racing, but all of these other stages that the drivers go through on a race weekend.
One of the good challenges, I think, for us trying to build this product is the sensory overload and putting you in the moment, like right before you get into the car, feeling like, the spectacle of the Daytona 500, the pre-race, all the build-up, bringing all of that in and trying to build the anxiety and build the nerves up in the user so that they realize how critical a moment is and they feel that pressure and anxiety to perform and succeed. And that's a fun challenge, but one I think we're up to the task. Visit NASCAR25.com for more information on the game, and make sure you follow us on social media at NASCAR25Game.
Tonight on Countdown to Green, we revisit a wild finish at Talladega. We chat with both drivers from Retard Esports. And we check out what you're racing at home. And the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
iRacing series. This is Countdown to Green, and yes, we were off for some time, but guess what? We're ready to hit the track in Charlotte. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. I almost forgot my name, it's been so long. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me as always, we have Ryan Vargas and Alan Cavana. How are you guys doing?
Man, I feel awesome. Charlotte, it's one of my favorite tracks on the schedule, both in real life and on the sim. It was a banger of a race this past season, and man, I'm excited to see what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, it's been way too long, and what a way to kick it back off, if you will. The greatest week in auto racing, and it kicks off here tonight with the Coke Series at Charlotte. Feels like a home race, because it is for many of us, so I'm just so happy to be back with you guys.
I'm so happy as well to be back with you, everyone at home watching and prepping, and of course, the drivers, which I feel like, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that break and how they're ready to hit the track, if they're a little bit cold or if they've been practicing. We're going to have to see a little later. But for now, before we get into everything Charlotte, we got to talk about Talladega, Ryan.
Yeah, Talladega, with the fixed setup, everybody on the same playing field, it was chaos from start to finish. You saw it right away. Lap 1, turn 1, 3 wide, trying to stick each other out, trying to shuffle yourself back in line. Alan, Talladega, as always, provides the craziness, and man, was it a crazy one.
Look at this, 3 lines. If we had to go a long time without the Coke Series, this was the race to do it on. I mean, big moves right down early on in this race, and aggression, right? This is a race where you're supposed to be patient. No, aggression, right? 3 wide. To get this done, we know how much of the win's on the line, but we saw a lot of big moves from big drivers, and we saw some interlopers, if you will. I mean, Wyatt Tinsley was in this race. We saw it string out a little bit, but the lines, the runs that were able to be made, I think this is Wyatt right here.
Yep.
Ryan, I mean, for him to be, just kind of getting a substitute role and be back and be one of the top guys in this race, it was big. Here's a big move right here.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of craziness, a lot of beating and banging. It looked like a short track race out here with how much these guys were using the bumpers, but nonetheless, it was chaos all throughout the field. You see right there, Vicente Salas giving a big push to Parker White. So just lots of craziness from start to finish. And really for me, it was a perfect, like you mentioned, it was the perfect race to go to a break. And right here, Colin Bowden coming up across the track, wiping out.
Clear.
Yeah, not clear.
Is that what you'd say?
Yeah, and clear enough.
You see the 95 there. Parker White, I mean, he was leading. It just showed you how safe he had to be. And then coming to the end here, I mean, this last stretch of Talladega makes such a difference, Ryan.
Oh yeah, and right there, you see it right there. Bobby Z in a chaotic finish right there, gets it done, unofficially locks himself into the playoffs. And speaking of playoffs, take a look at our playoff standings here. Steven Wilson, Tucker Mitchell, and Bobby Z hold up that top 3. Colin Keister with that win, he's going to slot in the 4th position. But then you see a lot of the consistent stars, Zach Novak, Parker White. Then you see at the bottom there, Dylan Duvall on that cusp. But one guy that I'm looking at, Femi, sitting there in 11th, having a quiet but solid season there.
Yeah, I mean, and that last playoff spot, we know winning is the way to do it, guys, but it's getting closer and closer. Consistency will matter for somebody, you would think. I don't know if we have 10 winners or not.
Oh yeah, and speaking of the standings, we also got to look at the team standings, right? And right off the bat here, Channel 199 Sim Racing at the top, proving that consistency is key. But Spire Motorsports up there in P2. Look, I just got to be honest here. Steven Wilson's shoulders have to hurt because my goodness, I mean, that is a lot of work right there. But you know what? At the end of the day, that's going to be one of those teams that's going to be up there fighting for the championship. If you could either have 2 drivers that are consistent or one guy who's lighting it up, and you want to be all the way up there.
Yeah, and look, we have to look at the rest of the schedule to see how those teams can do, because there's some pride and money on the line. Remember, this is now we're through segment 1. Tonight is race 2 of segment 2. I know we've been off for nearly a month, but look at this stretch we are about to hit. 6 races in 7 weeks. This is going to go by so quick, and these segments matter because they can offer a little bit of a bonus. They can offer both a bonus of money and a bonus of playoff points. So we're going to click these off real quick. Charlotte tonight, of course, then Nashville, Kansas. Then we look towards segment 3 real quick, Iowa. Here are the current standings for segment 2. Again, for segment 2, we've only had 1 race, Talladega, so it's going to look a lot different than the regular point standings, but that's why Bobby Z is on top. Malik, Dylan Duvall, Quentin, Donovan Strauss there. It's so close, but remember, you win a segment, you win some extra cash, and you also get some extra playoff points, so it's so important to be consistent in these segments. Right now, Bobby Z's on top.
I feel feel like we're playing mind games with the driver, just taking a break after that second segment race. I know, drivers are going to have to get into it, but you know what we like to do here on Countdown to Green? We also like to check in with the drivers, and this time we're going to check in with Connor at Euroshack, a fellow Canadian from Letart Esports.
I'm a Canadian. I've never been to a NASCAR race, so hoping to get out to some this year, probably Daytona. We'll see what happens. My name's Connor Yershak, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta. This is my first year rookie in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. I've always enjoyed sim racing and being competitive, so obviously I've always tried to be the best. So when I kind of set out and joined my first team, you know, I knew that I could run with some of the best. So over time, I realized that to really prove it to myself and compete at the highest level, this is where I need to be. Have I ever been protested, and how many times? Well, some people may know I've done my fair share of bowling back in my day, but I'm gonna have to go probably under 5, and I haven't been in a very long time. My biggest motivation this year is just to prove all the people wrong. It means a lot to me. Coming through the ladder this year, I think you really learn to appreciate the grind and how good people are at this level. So making it and getting to race alongside the best, means a lot, and it's an honor. Tracks I'm most looking forward to this year, I'd say the 1.5 miles always been a strength for me. Really strong race pace, always been good qualifying. What I'm most not looking forward to is the super speedways. I feel like a lot of it falls out of your control, and yeah, it's just mayhem out there. So hopefully just survive, get through those ones. My first year, I think I really just want to enjoy it. Like, looking at this experience, it's just such an honor to be in the series. So if I can have fun, really compete at the highest level, and do what I've always done, I think I'll have a great time. How do I want to be remembered? Wow, that's a good question. I want to be remembered as someone that holds myself well, holds myself accountable, and isn't a pushover on the track.
And you heard right there from Connor, one of the rookies in the field driving for Letart Esports, sitting a solid P20 in points. I'd say that's pretty respectable for your first season, but he's a Canadian. He's never been to a NASCAR race. Look, hit me up, Connor. We'll get you to a NASCAR Canada Series race. I will make that happen.
Oh, I love it. And look, he also said he was going to struggle with super speedways at Talladega, 28th, I think. So, he got a little more experience maybe, but I'm glad he's here in the series.
Not a fan of the super speedways, but anyways, let's talk about Talladega before we move on to focusing on the race ahead. I'm really curious about your thoughts, Ryan and Alan. What happened in that race?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I have a question of leaving Talladega, because he's been quiet lately, but who are going to be the guys that put the fight up to Steven Wilson? We've been talking about him all season. Yes, he hasn't won in the last couple of weeks, and really now the whole field has had a month to sit here and really think about all of it, but who are going to be the guys? You have guys like Novak, who's been consistent, Minter, who has that win, but one of those guys who's just up there consistently. Are they going to be able to mount the charge and really put the pressure on Wilson here when we get to playoff time?
And one of those guys we know now likely is going to be Bobby Z, Ryan, because Bobby Zielinski, I think he really saved his season at Talladega, because when you think Bobby Z, what do you think? Road course specialist, get all the wins. We were at Interlagos. He missed his chance. I know that's maybe unfair to say about other drivers, but Bobby Z missed his chance at Interlagos. He's supposed to win that race. He didn't. But what's he do? He goes out and wins the squeaker at Talladega. I think he saved the season. We know he's Mr. Championship 4, but you need a pathway to get there. That pathway just got a lot easier. Getting the checkered flag, now he can focus on the playoffs and being one of those challengers for Steven Wilson.
You know what I'm thinking? Charlotte tonight's going to really set the tone for segment 2 as we head into this race. But you know what we like to do as well here on Countdown to Green is check in with your rigs at home. This is Logitech Show Us Your Rigs, where we get a sneak peek at how you're racing at home. Our first one, Alan, is from Charlie McCarthy on Facebook. Woo! Look at those screens.
I love it. Look at how many monitors. It looks really neat. Great cable management. It's got a very, black and white checkered flag sort of vibe, right? It's just cool. You can see the floorboard down there. Great stuff, Charlie. You must win a lot of races with this. At least you can see a lot too. That's what's important.
Our next one is from CJ Williams. We're getting a nice side profile here for this rig, Ryan.
Yeah, I like it. It's a really comfy rig. Nothing too crazy, right? No frills here. Just cut and dry. You got the single monitor in the front. You got a nice pedal and wheel setup there, and the Recaro seat. You got to have that comfort, right? When you're sitting on the sim for hours on end, you don't want your butt to get sore, right? So CJ here with a nice, comfy, budget-conscious sim there.
And we see that crate, CJ. We see that. This next one is from Tim Price. Ooh, look at you're seeing the whole dash right there on one screen.
I love it. Little home fab, right? Wood paneling. You always get points for wood paneling, especially on this show. But you got the real gauges down there. I love this. It just shows the different variety of monitors and hookups and wheels and anything you can do. That's all you need to get involved in iRacing in this sport. And you can just have it all. I love this home setup.
Our next one is from Shai Tuma. Ooh, I'm loving the purple.
Look at that lighting. And look, he's got the motion at the bottom right there. So really, really nice setup right there. And I can't get over it. We're talking about seats. We got the Saybelt seat there too. Nice, comfy, nice and laid back. And I mean, again, I just can't get over how pretty this is. That is so aesthetically pleasing. Shout out to you. That is incredible stuff right there.
Yeah, I feel like you got to send us, Shai, the flooring, how you did that. Speaking of Logitech, look at who we have here. This one is from the sponsors themselves.
Nothing wrong with little Logitech marking out for themselves. Nothing not to love here. Look at how wide that monitor is. Sometimes we see triple monitors. You don't need triple if you have the widest monitor you've ever seen. Logitech, excellent job. I talk into those mics. I'm wearing the headphones. Thank you so much, Logitech. But this is why you do good stuff, and that is pretty. Love the lighting. Love everything about that.
You do good stuff, and you help us present good stuff from all of our community at home. So remember, if you're watching, show us your rigs on social media using the hashtag eNASCAR and tag eNASCAR GG and at iRacing. I gotta love it. I always get really happy when the community gets involved and we get to see everyone's rigs at home. But I also am getting excited, and I know the community is as well, because we have the Coca-Cola 600 coming up this Memorial Day long weekend, Alan. And I hear you got to catch up with someone to give us a little more info on that.
We did. Coca-Cola 600 Weekend Special for so many reasons, the racing, but also what it signifies. And to talk about that a little more, we have Eric Hacker, the Coca-Cola Vice President of Entertainment Partnerships, Influencers, Cultures, and Sports. Coca-Cola is a longtime supporter of U.S. service members. Of course, May is Military Appreciation Month. And having Eric on to ask him, what is Coca-Cola doing with NASCAR and the Coke 600, which of course falls on Memorial Day weekend. Here's what he told us.
Yeah, absolutely. May is such an exciting month for us. The company has a tremendous history with answering the call from our government, starting with in World War II, making sure that our soldiers overseas got a taste of home with offering them a Coke bottle for 5 cents. We were a huge partner in the 1976 bicentennial, and we are going to be a huge a partner in the upcoming 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence next year. But May's amazing because each year, we get to have the Coca-Cola 600, kind of one of our hallmark events. Of course, in the middle of Memorial Day weekend, we make sure that race always puts the armed forces and the reason for the holiday at the forefront, including, having the moment of pause halfway through the moment of silence halfway through the race, making sure that we have a whole series of programming leading up to the event as well. As you mentioned, we partner with the folks at Charlotte Motor Speedway for a whole event, a month of events, including getting our racing family out to our armed forces bases and getting to spend a day with our military men and women. And so, we're super excited about, and then our bottler partners with Habitat for Humanity. So there's lots of community outreach as well.
Yeah, it's such a special weekend. This weekend, of course, Memorial Day. But you heard him mention just a little bit about the Declaration of Independence, the 250th anniversary of that signing. So we asked him a little more about that, Coca-Cola's involvement in that big event next year.
Well, July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but our celebration of leading up to that tremendous milestone actually begins this weekend with the Coca-Cola 600. So fans, as they're entering the track before the race Sunday, will get to experience our activation. So please stop by and say you'll get a chance to sign up and pledge to be a part of this tremendous milestone. We're bringing to life collectible packaging next year, so commemorative merchandise, compelling new media campaigns, and we're planning to refresh locally across the country. So look for us to paint murals, to do local activations, be at your local fireworks show, your local farmers market, to make sure that we reach as many Americans. Actually, the goal is to reach all 350 million of us next year in our 250th year.
And Coca-Cola is synonymous with this weekend. Of course, it's called the Coca-Cola 600, but it's been that way for a long time because of their involvement. So we asked Eric, why is this weekend so special to the company?
This is the 66th running of the Coca-Cola 600, and like I mentioned, it truly is a hallmark event amongst our overall NASCAR and motorsports partnership. But I would say our overall partnership architecture. As we get ready to celebrate 250 years of our democracy, it's never lost on us that our freedoms that we enjoy, like the ability to gather and to race on this Sunday, starts and is protected by the men and women who have given their lives and given their time in service of our nation and continue to do so. So we are a global company, practically sold in every country in the world, but we'll never forget that we were born here in America, and our freedom is completely given to us by our armed forces. So there's nothing else we would rather do than Memorial Day weekend than to commemorate and honor that service they've given to us.
And of course, it's not only the Sunday shows, not only the Cup Series. Coca-Cola decided to get into gaming and esports and the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We asked what influenced that decision in diving into this sport.
We just celebrated our 139th year as a brand last week, and we have aspirations of having at least 100 more years. And so one of the roles that's incumbent upon us is to always understand where consumers are going. What are those next generations of passion points? And we look through and we interview and we understand that consumers, especially that next generation of drinkers, are really, really into esports and gaming. So we have a commitment to follow our consumers wherever their passions are, and the data was overwhelmingly obvious to us that the next generation of drinkers are avidly engaged in this arena, and so we want to be there and refresh those gamers.
And look, it's one thing to have a sponsor, it's other to have the backing behind it of a company that really has, as you've heard, 66 years of being the Coca-Cola 600, of course, this series. So it's just good to hear from him and have that backing and have him on the show. So good stuff, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome what they're doing. I'm just really jealous. I'm not going to be at the Coca-Cola 600.
It's special.
Missing out.
Yeah.
I'm missing out.
One of the best races of the year.
I know. Awesome. I'll be watching, and just slowly a tear will drop. Envying both of you. But other than that, we do have another check-in with a driver coming up. We checked in with one Letarte esports driver. Well, it's time to check in with the other, Kwame Scott.
I just want to be a staple in this series. I want to be here for as long as I can. I just want to be a household name when it comes to NASCAR esports. My name is Kwame Scott, and I'm from the Bronx, New York. This is my second season in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I think the only way, for anyone aspiring to be in the Coke Series, just realize that a lot of these guys in the Coke Series put in a lot of work and put in a lot of time to be here, so it's not going to happen overnight, but just stay consistent and just try to learn from the best. I guess I would have known how many laps it was actually going to take to be competitive. Some of these guys are out here doing hours and hours and thousands of laps, and you just got to be willing to sacrifice and put the time in. My favorite sports team is the New York Mets. My favorite movie is The Incredibles. My favorite place to vacation is Charlotte. No toppings, just plain pizza. Deep dish. Pack of Oreos, double stuffed Oreos. Dun 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 dun. I don't know why. I should know the name of it. I don't know why I can't think of it right now. Favorite active NASCAR driver is Raja Caruth. Why am I the Mark Vientos? I mean, I feel like, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I feel like I'm pretty clutch when it comes to being, in those under pressure moments. Yeah, I think I perform. I might not necessarily like it, but I think I perform better under pressure. I just want people to remember that I just try to keep it real. I'm just having fun, and I enjoy every part of being here. I just enjoy my time in the Coke Series. This is a cool thing that we're able to do. We're fake NASCAR drivers racing on a virtual platform. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
It's interesting to hear a New York guy say that his favorite pizza is deep dish, but I respect it though. But Kwame, he talked about being clutch, and he was clutch, getting into the Coke Series by a photo finish in the Contender Series, racing his way into the Top Series. Now he's had a bit of a rough go of it lately. He's not in that top 20, really kind of out of the playoff picture. But we got 6 races in the next 7 weeks for him to try and turn that around. And I think Kwame, like you mentioned, he'll come in the clutch and he'll be able to move himself forward in the playoffs as long as he just keeps it steady, Alan.
Yeah, if he wants to be clutch, he can show it. Go out there and get that win. But I also hope young drivers listen to what he just said. How hard it is, how much dedication, laps, and time it takes. Kwame, the rest of our drivers, they made it. It takes a lot of effort to make it, so I hope they listen to him.
And I'm hoping no one's listening to him when he says plain pizza is the best.
What is better than no pizza? I don't know.
That is true. That is true. But what's even better is checking in with the power rankings all season long. We've had our iRacing writer, Justin Melillo, giving us the insights on his power rankings. And guess what? He's here in person. Hi, Justin.
What's going on, Camille?
We're so happy to have you. You got to take us through the updates with your power rankings.
Yeah, it's been a really fun project for me this season. And you know what? The math has moved around this field. It's nothing I could have ever projected in these first 6 races. First up with these drivers' power rankings, I came into the year expecting a weekly showdown between Steven Wilson and Parker White. Wilson's definitely been up there, right, with his 3 wins, but the defending champion hasn't been as loud as he was at the end of last season. Parker's top 5 streak ended at Rockingham. His recovery at Dega was like a mid-pack finish. So, I was kind of expecting more out of Parker White, but nice surprise though. It's been Zach Novak. He's definitely been up there. I think I got him ranked number 2 right now on the power rankings, and if he could get a win, I think he could stick it to Steven Wilson.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that you got, Novak in P2 over some of the guys that have wins. So I'm a little curious on that. But you know what? I like it. Consistency is key with Novak, right? I mean, that's how he's won segment 1. So I'm keeping a look at that for sure.
Exactly. He's a segment 1 winner.
Well, look, I'm looking at Parker White. Parker White is 4th in points, yet 5th in the power rankings. Get out of here. Now, you do a great job.
He's got to step it up.
I just don't agree. I don't agree. Parker White, champ. He's got to step it up.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough, right? You got to put a little bit of math. You got to say who's hot, who's not. And when I look at who's hot, Parker's just not hot right now. And if he gets a win, you know what? He'll shoot right up. But with the team power rankings, you got to look at Novak's team as well. Right now, Channel 199 Sim Racing, they are leading the way, and I'm gonna have to put them at the top of the team rankings as well. And I only have one answer, one reason why I would do that, and that is Novak's teammate, Dylan Duval. He's won a team championship before. He knows how to do it. He's a proven team championship winner back when he and Steven Wilson won it a few seasons ago with Stuart Haas. Wilson, of course, he knows how to win team championships too. He's got Femi Olatunbosan on his team as his wingman this year. But it's, what we've seen over the last few races, the Novak Duval combo is solid and will be a threat for this team title.
Hey, you know what? Don't listen to the two guys. They're giving you a rough time, but I understand you're doing the hard work with all the calculations, all the math, although I've heard you sometimes throw that out. What I have a question for you, Justin, is what's happening on your hair there? Do you have a fan going?
Listen, it gets really hot in this room. I have like 17 monitors around me. I constantly gotta keep the everybody updated with what's going on in the world of eNASCAR during these races.
Well,
so it gets pretty hot in this room. So yes, I got a fan on me.
Look, I could tell you that your power rankings for the teams are just about as crazy as your hair right now. But you know what? I'll let you have that. And yeah.
Give him a break, all right? He's keeping cool with all the pressure that we give him. But thanks a lot, Justin, for the power rankings. Now we're going to head into trends that we see at Charlotte. Alan, you got to break it down.
Absolutely. I'm a big Malillo fan. You get it? Big fan? There we go. Let's look at the trends at Charlotte. 4 drivers have earned their first win at Charlotte. You can see him down there. The last time that happened was Colin Keister back in 2020, but 4 times it has happened. We'll see. You never know what could happen tonight at the home track for many of us. It's a good track to get it done. We see that happen in the Cup Series sometimes too. 13 of 16 winners started from inside the top 10. Yet no one has won from the front row since Keegan Leahy back in 2019. What does that tell you? You want to start up front, but not too far up front. 31% of winners led the most laps during the race, but no race winner has done so since Colin Keister back in 2020. So maybe a late pass for the win after someone dominates. We'll just have to see if the trend continues tonight in Charlotte. 6 of the 8 winners went on to make the playoffs, but only 3 of them continued on to the championship 4. A little interesting. You're looking at them there. Keegan Leahy, Ray Alfala, I think Tucker Minter there. You would think we win at Charlotte, intermediate track, that would be beneficial to you toward a championship run, but we'll see what the trend says. Only 3 of them have continued on. And get this is odd. This is good stat work here. In 2023, Garrett Lowe started first and Tucker Minter won the race. In 2024, Minter started first and Lowe won the race. What does it mean for tonight? I don't know if one of them doesn't get the pole, but it's good research nonetheless by our boy Cisco.
We love all the information that we get. Cisco, thank you for the research. And now that we have all that info, it comes down to it. What really counts here on Countdown to Green are picks for the race.
That's a big number.
Let's remind everyone. Yeah, okay.
Don't be too cocky now. I've been closing the gap.
Big number is good. Yeah, all right.
You know what? I'm going to stay silent on that because I got some work to do. But let's talk about Charlotte picks. Ryan, who are you choosing?
All right, so we've talked about him all season, and yet I have held myself from picking him, but I'm going with the bingo free space in Steven Wilson. He's going to get it done tonight. He's been consistent all season long. He is my pick to get it done at Charlotte.
Good pick, smart pick, and I'm doing the same. Steven Wilson has had a month off to think about this. He's the franchise. He just graduated college, I believe, if I saw his socials correct. He's got everything going for him, including a win tonight, Camille.
We're trying to make it happen. The franchise is also who I picked today, Steven Wilson. If you remember, this time last year we were at Charlotte, and he was doing very well, miscalculated some of the last turns, but I'm hoping he could pull through. Ryan, I think you have an update on who the pole sitter is, right?
Yeah, I have producer Drew in my ear telling me that Casey Kerwin is on the pole, if I remember correctly. So he's going to be trying to pump those numbers up. Remember, he was sitting 9th in the playoff standings, only a couple points above that cut. So got some work to do, Camille.
All right, well, we're going to have to see who takes it in Charlotte as the race ahead is just coming up. Thank you so much for watching Countdown to Green. Alan, Ryan, Justin, thank you for joining us today. And stay tuned. Get your Coca-Cola and come right back because the race is ahead.
Welcome to the Proving Ground. Welcome to Metal Crunching. Big hits right there. It's all or nothing for 26 weeks of the year. Welcome to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, only on the CW.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition, make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Two-car spin, one last-ditched effort. Bobby Zelensky holds them all at bay to win at Talladega.
Yo, knock, knock, guess who? Coming through, got more than just a little something to prove. Boo-hoo, they're doomed, they don't see me sneaky. I reach the peak and they sleeping through. And you've been 3 days and start since the jump. Steady, don't be strong, cause you're not ready.
To $500,000 returns for the longest race of the season. From iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 7 of the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is the Coca-Cola 160. Well, not only is it the greatest week to be a race fan, but it is the busiest time of the year to be an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver. As we welcome you back into the iRacing Esports Network broadcast booth, along with Kenneth Bueno. My name is Evan Pasocco, and Kenneth, 6 of the next 7 weeks. So that reprieve that they've enjoyed has long gone, and it is time to put up or shut up as we get to a critical point in the season.
Oh, what a better way, Evan, to lock back into a championship pursuit than the longest race of the season and a bit of exposure therapy with the 6 of the 7 weeks that we'll have of racing here in this series. And Charlotte is one of the several intermediate tracks that we'll see in the calendar. It is refined, it is fast, it is narrow, and it has shown us banger after banger whenever we show up here. It's been one of the longest tenure tracks on the Coke Series calendar since 2010, so this edition may just be another fantastic one.
Yeah, it feels like home in the NASCAR world. It's NASCAR's backyard. It feels like home for a lot of these drivers. You take a look at the schedule. We're right in the middle of segment number 2. This Charlotte Motor Speedway, the track that most of these drivers start their oval careers on iRacing when they get first introduced to street stocks. They're doing it here on the big stage tonight in Charlotte. Back at it in a week's time from Nashville, a week after that in Kansas. So a lot of mid-sized intermediate racetracks to make up what is the shortest segment of the regular season. Kenneth, only 4 races to determine the segment 2 champion. Of course, that's critical because playoff bonus points and cash on the line in all of the segments this season long. Of course, though, we do talk about this Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's dive into it with a look at our track analysis.
And this is one of the original NASCAR tracks, like you said, free to all members on iRacing. And this is the stage that the drivers will take on tonight. 1.5 miles, 2.41 kilometers that opened back in 1960 with 24 degrees of banking in the corners, of 5 degrees on the front straightaway with that quad oval configuration. This track brought us a photo finish last time we were here by 1/1000th of a second. Garrett Lowe going tonight to try and repeat here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. An OG track, one that is narrow, one that is multi-groove, one that is very fast.
And as drivers fight for the reward of a race win here tonight, you can as well walk away with rewards with NASCAR Fan Rewards. If you're a Fan Rewards member, enter tonight's code Charlotte9LP on your member dashboard. Lock in your 50 points for the afternoon. And we keep telling you, but if for some reason you're not signed up, you can still join NASCAR Fan Rewards. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to NASCAR.com/fan rewards and join now. Well, qualifying has already taken place. We are moments away from getting started with the running of today's Coca-Cola 160. So to do so, let's go trackside and hand things off to tonight's Grand Marshal. It's Coca-Cola Vice President of Entertainment, Partnerships, Influencers, Culture, and Sports, Eric Kacker.
On behalf of the Coca-Cola Company, we are thrilled for this weekend. Hope to see everybody out at the race this Sunday, but we are tremendously excited about tonight. Drivers, let's get this party started.
And with that, we take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And for only the second time in 135 career starts, it is Casey Kerwin on pole position. The Pioneers 24 will bring us to the green flag next to the 6 Karma 39 of Daniel Falkingham. Row number 2, we'll see the Vegas Inferno number 1 of Malik Gray and the RFK Racing number 6 of Colin Bowden. And back on row 3, it is the Spire Motorsports number 7 of Femi Alatumbo. And to his outside, the Austin Dillon-owned Team Dillon Esports 33. That's Taylor Hurst.
And then back in row number 4, good start for the rookie. Blake McCandless is trying to get his best finish since Rockingham. He'll start inside on row 4 for the Junior Motorsports camp. Canon Esports has Vicente Salas on the outside in P8. Strong performance in our last mile-and-a-half race at Las Vegas. He'll try and back it up with a good one tonight. Team Dillon Esports has the rookie Blaze Crawford on the inside of row 5 with Talladega Super Speedway winner and ERA Esports team member Bobby Zelensky. That's the team owned by NASCAR driver Jesse Iwuji. Zach Novak for the Channel 199 Sim Racing Group owned by Travis Pastrana. He rolls off inside in row number 6 and outside for P12, a driver trying to get back into the momentum at Lassie & Williams Sim Racing driver and defending champ Parker White.
Continuing on through the inside, row number 7 is the lucky number 13 spot on the grid. It is the ERE Esports Team 34 of Michael Cozy Jr. lined up next to the William Byron Esports 25 of Nick Ottinger. Row number 8 is the Hayek Motorsports 47 of Dylan Alt, and your 3-time race winner this season, the Spire Motorsports 77 of Stephen Wilson. Back on row number 9, inside the number 14 for FGR XL E-Racing, that is Seth the Merchant, and the team headed up by Steve Letarte, who's going to be on the call for the Coke 600 this weekend. It's the 40 at Connor Urashak.
And then on the inside of row number 10, Tucker Minter, former winner here at Charlotte back in 2023 for the William Byron Esports team. He rounds out the top 19 with Matt Busa for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. His number 62 starts at the back end of the top 20. Rookie for Hayek Motorsports, Quentin Warman rolls off inside row number 11 with Graham Boland for the Kansas City Pioneers. Going to be on the outside in 22nd place before you find the other end of the Junior Motorsports camp. Brian LaPrade rolls off inside row 12 from 23rd with RFK Racing's Timothy Holmes in 24th.
We're just past halfway home until you hit row number 13. It is the BS Competition 89 of Jordy Lopez right next to his teammate Garrett Lowe in the number 99 machine. Row number 14, it is the Apex Sim Racing number 98 of Cody Bias. He's next to the Kevin Harvick Incorporated number 29 of Jimmy Mullis. Behind them, it is the second of the Apex Racing team cars, Christopher Hill, going to be lined up just behind his teammate. And how about Kanani Sports, the team headed by Tony Kanan, the 66, that's Alexander Russell in P30.
Then on the inside of row 16, that is 31st place for Ryan Luza for the FGR XL camp, a driver who's finished 3rd here at Charlotte twice. Tyler Gary for the E-Racer camp starts on the outside in 32nd before you find the other E-Racer Toyota Camry of Logan Clampett inside row 17. And rookie for Jim Beaver Esports, Nate Stewart on the outside in row number 17 before you find those lined up 35th and 36th on the grid. Vegas Inferno's Michael Guest and Donovan Strauss for the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Group.
And to put a bow on this one, it is the Channel 199 Sim Racing Teams 199. Dylan Duvall, Team Boss Travis Pastrana likely watch it on. He is next to the Jim Beaver Esports 15 of Colin Keister. And in row 20, the Letarte Esports 36 of Kwame Scott. The 6 Carmenite team of Eddie Kerner. They start 39th and 40th. And that's a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Well, as always, James Pike is the third member of our broadcast team, and he's dialed up your pole sitter tonight, Casey Kerwin.
Thank you, Evan. I do have the driver from Kansas City Pioneers. And Casey, home game for you. You're a Matthews native, but no wins in this race in your Coke Series career. Are you a little bit more motivated to get to victory lane tonight than you would be for some other races in the calendar?
I mean, I guess especially now since I actually qualified good for once in my life lately, it's been good. The Coca-Cola car on pole in the Coca-Cola race in the Coca-Cola series. So, and it's my home track. So, yeah, it should be good. We've always been good here. I've had a couple shots at wins. It just hasn't worked out. So, starting as good as I possibly can, and yeah, hopefully we can keep it up front we have a nice long race tonight, and yeah, try and keep it up front all night and be there at the end.
Caught up in incidents the last 2 years, best finish in 8th in his career back in 2021. Have to believe, Evan and Kenneth, that he could best that tonight.
It's his first pole of 2025. I know his chat was blowing up on Twitch when he secured the pole, so they were happy to see that. All right, it is the longest race of the year. Walk us through it, Kenneth, with our Logitech G race format.
Well, a lot of people said a couple weeks back at Rockingham Speedway that it was the longest race. In laps number, yes, but not in race distance. This is the longest race of the 2025 season at 160 laps, 240 miles. Pit road speed limit sits at a measly 45 miles an hour. The drivers do have 4 tire sets available, which is key. Charlotte is known to eat up Goodyear Eagles. We should see that pit window come in at about 58 to 62 laps. Give or take, should we see a long green flag run. This race last year came down to fresh tires between Jimmy Mullis and Garrett Lowe, so all the guys got to keep that in mind should we get a late race restart.
And Garrett Lowe would love to repeat as the 2024 race winner of this one. But all the drivers are excited, right? It's the best week to be a Racing fan. They love long races. This race a bit of an akin to some of the old school days of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. It's the middle of the season, and we couldn't be more happy that you're joining us for this one. Kerwin on the inside of the front row. He's in control. Daniel Falkenham to his outside. Pace car down and in. 160 laps on the docket as we say, let's go racing at Charlotte. Through the gears and up to speed, 3 wide, tail end of the top 10, still nose to nose in a battle for the race lead. Kerwin, a bit of a slow start, means that Falkenham's got a chance here as they race off of 4, give it to the 39 after the first mile and a half.
Yeah, the outside line really picked up there on the initial start and helped Falkenham stay alongside Kerwin, and they're going to roll out through lap number 2, still side by side for the race lead. Bowden has settled nicely in 3rd. That's where he finished at Rockingham earlier in this season. So far, his best finish of 2025. But look at the Hornet's Nest that happens at about 8th on back. It is insanity. Nearly 3 wide. They were 3 wide for about 2 or 3 seconds in the quad oval the last time through. Everyone's still door to door, maybe 4 to 5, 6 rows deep as they cross back to turn 1.
On board with Connor Urashak, back in traffic. He is right in the thick of things. 2 wide in front of him. The 3 wide off of the jump was right in front, and they're going to do it again. The number 2 is Zach Novak to the inside. Crawford in the 3 in the middle to the very outside. The red, white, and blue with the 25 of Nick Gottinger. One of many cars in the field this afternoon, sporting some patriotic paint schemes in advance of Memorial Day weekend. But and Sunoco car on the inside lane, still watch it on. He's got the number 95 machine to his outside. That's Parker White again. Midfield, tons of action. Up front leaders trying to single file it out just a touch. Falkenham has completed that pass on Kerwin. He's got sole possession of the number 1 spot.
That's the main goal right now, Evan, is to get single file. It's a long race at 160 laps, so the first thing you want to do is, if you can't get out of dirty air, step into it, but at least step into it not battling another race car, so that you can focus more so on saving the Goodyear Eagles that are slapped on the race car for the first segment of tonight's race. But with everyone in the mid-pack not necessarily giving things up early, definitely means track position will mean a ton. Passing will be very hard once the longer green flag run kicks in, if that even does occur. There's Colin Bowden right up to third, settling behind the 2 leaders. Falkingham did take away the lead from Casey Kerwin, and Bowden doing a great job settling in third with Taylor Hurst right behind.
Two observations there. Number one is you heard the downshift of the center of 3 and 4, so that's something interesting to note that these drivers may or may not be using. Number two is he's got playoff hockey out. He's got the Canes game going on, battle for the Eastern Conference Final. My Vegas Golden Knights no longer in it. I could pull for the Hurricanes, so that's what he's got on in the background. Always like to see what Colin's watching in the background on a Tuesday night. But again, slowly going to start to try to stretch things out. Longest race of the year. You would expect drivers to want to get into a little bit of a rhythm and get a lot of green flag racing in these longer races where you have a chance of going on a full fuel run. Trying to manage your tire wear is where some of the drivers who may not have had a lot of success in some of the chaos already feel like there's less uncontrollables, gives them a little bit more power over what their outcome in this race is going to be. But still, 40, the best sim racers in the world, nothing promised, and so far a good start. No major moves up top except Nick Ottinger, who's just ahead of this gaggle right here in the number 25 car. Touched on him a second ago. He is up 7 spots already, 14th to 7th. So is Steven Wilson, make it 8 spots gained. Wilson 16th to 8th on the racetrack.
Well, 2 things to your point, Evan. The first is that with the playoff hockey, I've got a horse in that race. Vamos got those. Florida Panthers trying to go for their 2nd straight Stanley Cup final. But like Caden Honeycutt said in the interview with Alan Cavana that he did throughout the week, he said his experience in eNASCAR helped out a lot because it's all about working so hard to get every little bit of an advantage over the other 39 guys, which is so difficult. And here's a look on board with a driver who's mastered this series before. Parker White, the defending champ. You know, the last several races haven't been very kind to him. 35th with the poor strategy that didn't go his way at Rockingham, and then a mid-pack top 15 finish at Talladega Super Speedway. This could be the race where the defending champ finds his groove, and right now just getting the best of Nick Ottinger sliding into P8.
We're going to hear him go back up through the gears after the downshift in the center at 3 and 4, just past the start-finish line, back up into 5th gear. So interesting that those drivers are doing that around this 1.5 mile intermediate racetrack. Outside has got the speed down that back straightaway. You see the Dude Wipes 33 on the bottom there. It's Taylor Hurst quietly, top 5 car so far, but lost a lot down the back straightaway the last lap. The number 11 car, Vicente Salas, made a pass, and now the 7, Femi Alatin-Bosin, trying to do the same. So outside the place to be, and now we got some different lanes working. Look at the 24 of Kerwin. He goes way to the outside. Some variance in the battle for 3rd between Bowden and Salas, but nobody was as high as that 24 car was.
This is exactly the juncture of the race where everyone's going to start to experiment a little bit, whether it is that short turn game from the middle or the very high side, or just escaping that dirty air with the tire wear that's also kicking in now that we're more than 10 laps of green flag racing through in tonight's event. So it's very fun to see what the drivers have been able to do experimenting-wise. I think Kerwin got a taste to the top and said maybe not the best rotation-wise, so he'll stay back in line, but it's helped all of these guys third on back make position up, and Salas is starting to make ground up quickly, and so are the 2 Spire Motorsports Chevrolets, which helped out for both of them at Las Vegas, our last 1.5 mile race and only other one of the season before tonight. And it helped Femi Olatunbosin lead a couple of laps before Steven Wilson had his connection issues. He was up front very strong, so not surprised to see those 2 cars manning up at the front trying to make a charge.
Sometimes I see Salas out of the corner of my eye. I think he's one of those Spire cars. Got a similar paint scheme on board his Cadan Esports team. That's the Miramar Financial Group Toyota. But the 77 Wilson puts a touch of a gap on his teammate in a pass for the number 3 spot. So Wilson up 13 positions now. Really aggressive on the jump, and he is far from over because he wants to look for more. He'll go to the outside. His teammate Femi Olatunbosin would love to follow him through. There's an on-board look with the 2 of them as they come down the backstretch.
I think the two drivers, Evan, know a little thing or two about cutting through the field. Well, remember, in last season's race, Femi finished in 8th after starting dead last in 40th. So he knows a thing or two about getting through the pack when it matters most, and a very solid car for the first 14, now 15 laps of this race. And these two guys have definitely shown their strength as a unit. We haven't seen that as much through other teams in the series. More often than not, it's one driver getting the upper hand over the other. I think the only other team that I can think of that has a unit and a cohesion with them so far is got to be Channel 199 with Zach Novak and Dylan Duval and how good they've been through the first stretch. So solid and impressive to see Spire Motorsports stay up at the front. And based on the predictions from Countdown to Green, no surprise that Wilson's up in the top 3.
We're talking about winners. We're going to be talking about soon who's in and who's out, because we're nearing the midway point of this regular season, and in fact halfway through the regular season at the end of tonight, so you want to be in the loop on everything eNASCAR. eNASCAR.com, your place to keep up to date with the series standings, schedule, and even how on you could be a part of this eNASCAR community. So make sure you make eNASCAR.com one of your frequent visits over the course of the summer months here in the midst of this championship. A little bit of separation again as these leaders have single filed out and trying to enjoy a little bit of extra real estate to themselves. That 77 Wilson still moving on the outside lane. The GGT Energy Solutions Incorporated Chevrolet in the number 3 spot. He went quickly, put a challenge on Kerwin. That has calmed a touch, and now Kerwin trying to get up and fight with Falkenham for the lead. You jump on board with Taylor Hurst, the Team Dillon Esports number 33 Chevrolet, back in the field here this afternoon.
And that was because he missed out on Talladega Super Speedway for, I believe, hitting the penalty limit. So he was forced to sit out the Super Speedway race. Wyatt Tinsley did a great job keeping that seat warm, running up front, leading laps, being aggressive. But now Hurst, after the lengthy vacation, has a chance to get back in this thing. And I'm sure a lot of these guys, including Hurst, have been spending a lot of time in that off break, just trying to get back into that rhythm with their teams and get locked in for this race. And Hurst is already dealing with a bit of the tire wear. Saw the rear end slip out there at the top of the bump there out of turn 4, and he's dropped off to 8th, and he's just aiming to get back at Graham Bowen, who got by him for 7th place with Colin Bowden in the rearview mirror. Good to see Hurst back in, and a very strong Dude Wipe Chevrolet to start.
You talk about the tower, current track temperature 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 41 degrees hotter than the atmospheric temp in sim virtually here in Concord. I mentioned that you're going to be seeing a lot of different paint schemes in today's race as the challenge for the lead is on up front. A lot of red, white, and blue for Memorial Day. Of course, Quinton Warman in the Simcraft at Chevrolet, sporting the stars and stripes on the number 50 machine. For the driver for Hayek Motorsports, one of many, as we'll bounce around and look at several. How about the 5, the Misadventure number 5 Ford of Nate Stewart for Jim Beaver Esports.
You know, I got to say, Evan, Jim Beaver Esports has had bangers of paint schemes throughout 2025. They have had great-looking cars. This one no different. How about Dylan Ault for the Hayek Motorsports camp? That's the car that's going to run in real life for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the NASCAR Cup Series with the red, white, and blue colors, as he's in that fight with the 29 car down low of Jimmy Mullis. So a lot of guys putting out the red, white, and blue tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they go out and run in the iRacing official Coca-Cola 600 race that is happening very, very soon with these exact paint schemes. And how about Garrett Lowe coming fresh off of a NASCAR Euro Series podium for the very first time with BS Plus competition, red, white, and blue for the 99 car this evening.
It's quite a debut for him. He is 6th in the NASCAR Euro Series standings. Obviously changing that paint scheme up, and there is the red, white, and blue for the Logitech G, number 97 Chevrolet of Tucker Minter. That one is up there as always. So they've also got Celsius on board that car. Of course, a lot of the teams will run sim-specific sponsors. Other teams who are real-world NASCAR teams will run the paint schemes you'll see on track with their cup drivers over the weekend. So all of the partners on these cars, so important to making this series possible for the drivers in these teams. And we've already touched on the Dude Wipes 33 a couple times tonight. Let's take another good look at that Chevrolet for Taylor Hurst, the driver for Team Dillon Esports. Austin Dillon, team boss, he's known for having some good Memorial Day paint schemes.
Do you have a favorite, Evan, in this field for the red, white, and blue gang?
Well, from what I've seen so far, I think maybe Minter's got the edge, but I hear that there's plenty more in the field, so I will hold judgment for the moment.
Hey, we can go out and eat. You know, that's the good thing about this field. A lot of the good red, white, and blue colors tonight, so lots of options, and I'm sure we'll get through most of those tonight. You saw the battle for the lead slim out. Steven Wilson and Femi Olatunbosun took over the race lead, but look how rambunctious things are getting inside this top 5. Grant Bolin, the great moves up for the Kansas City Pioneers Chevrolet, and a driver like Bolin, who hasn't really succeeded as much to start 2025. He's up 18 to begin this race. Taylor Hurst is finally back in this group after falling off a bit from the tire wear. He's starting to plateau and get right back into the action. And look at all 4 of these drivers, all of them up to 24 degrees of banking. I nearly saw Salas in the outside wall, maybe about an inch or 2 off of that safer barrier about a lap or 2 ago. So everyone up using the grooves available.
Yeah, and a lot of those drivers able to gain positions, to the misfortune of Daniel Falkenham, who has struggled a little bit. He has dropped back 6 positions. Somebody else who has slipped just a little bit is the number 8, the C4 Energy Chevrolet of Blake McCandless. The flavor for the week, frozen bombsicle on that Chevy. It's a good qualifying effort for one of the gate rookies in the field. And again, slid back a touch into the number 12 spot right now. There's a good on-board look at his sim right-hand side of your screen as he'll slide up in line behind the 6 about him.
This car may be a little thirsty, but a great jump for the first 26 laps for Blake McCandless, a driver who hasn't started in the top 10 all season long until tonight, where he rolled off the grid from 7th place. And, you know, he told me a couple days ago that he was just locking in and grinding on practice laps at Charlotte on Sunday and Monday in preparation for tonight's race. And here he is running very well. You know, talk about those degradation tire racetracks and ones that are very hard to drive, one that taper off to discipline more than any other aspect of it. Well, McCandless is very talented at that. Rockingham was his best finish in 11th, and so far in the scrap of the top 15.
Interesting, right? We've had 4 weeks of time to practice for this race, and over the course of the next 4 weeks, there's going to be 3 different races. So the time to be able to practice and put in for each of the next handful of tracks are very different than the drivers who may have taken up the opportunity to get a lot of practice in here at Charlotte. There's battles all over this racetrack. Jumping back quick there for a moment, that's a look at the battle back in 19th position or so. The number 34, Michael Cozy Jr., sits in the number 20 spot. He's trying to get to the Treetop Chevrolet of Matt Busa for position. Can't quite get there yet, but there's a couple of big movers in this, and Eddie Kerner is one of them, the driver that is right in front of Busa. Kerner up 22. That is your biggest mover in the field, and he is just ahead of the KHI machine of Busa. There's a look at his teammate as well, Jimmy Mullis, just a couple of spots back in line.
Yeah, these 2 drivers strong to start 2025, especially, you know, Jimmy Mullis has been finding his way just a little bit, picked up 8th at Talladega in our last race of the season, and Mullis has the unfinished business here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was on the other end of that photo finish at 1/1000th of a second to Garrett Lowe here last season, so you got to bet that for Jimmy Mullis, there's a bit more fire in the stomach for car number 29 as he gets right under his teammate. I think Busa got a little eager there in the apex of 1 and 2 and slapped the outside wall. But we're going to keep an eye on Mullis and Busa throughout this race because they have gained spots like a lot of other drivers have done so far to start this race. But Mullis in particular, probably more hungry than the rest of the field to go at it for victory here at Charlotte.
But a tip of the cap to Jimmy Mullis, making career start number 150 in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series here tonight. And as we switch over to the ERA Esports team, of course, the group headed up by NASCAR driver Jesse Iwuji. It is a great transition and a great comparison. Michael Cozy Jr., one of the young drivers in this series, teamed up with Bobby Zelensky. Zelensky hit career start number 150 last time out at the Talladega Superspeedway. So a lot of youth and a lot of experience in this team. They're also running very close together, both of those cars right now in the high teens.
And positives for both sides as Zelensky just nearly sneaks through 3 wide. That's Ryan Luzo on the high side. And now How about Michael Cozy Jr. getting a bit of the 3-wide action at the bottom end, Eddie Kerner sitting through the middle. But positives on both ends. Of course, Zelensky getting his 17th career victory. Evan at Talladega ties him now for third with Luza on the all-time wins list. And, of course, Michael Cozy Jr. can't forget the last time we were at a mile-and-a-half racetrack at Las Vegas. He finished runner-up to the eventual winner, Colin Keister, on that tire strategy till the end. So a lot of good things for both of those drivers, some momentum they can ride off of here as they come into Charlotte. But the battles haven't stopped, Evan. It is pandemonium, finesse phenomenon, if you will, all over the track, 3 and 2 wide, all the drivers getting a piece of it. Now Casey Kerwin wants to fight back at Femi Olot with Vicente Salas right behind 3-car train.
Mentioned Keister, the race winner from the only other intermediate track we've been to so far this year. Of course, strategy was a big factor in that one. A little bit surprised, though, that car way back in 33rd. So a lot of work to do for your Las Vegas winner. Race winners this season, Tucker Minter was a race winner at the Rockingham Speedway. He's currently 27th on the racetrack. Bobby Zelensky, the race winner a couple of weeks ago in Talladega. He runs at a 14th spot. And then the unanimous pick on Countdown to Green, Steven Wilson, your race winner in Daytona, at Interlagos, and in Richmond. Well, he is the man at the top of the board at 15 spots.
Yeah, everyone looks like to be right from the Countdown to Green crew. Hopefully it doesn't change, but Wilson has been one of the strongest all night long. You know, we talk about the patriotic paint schemes, the red, white, and blue colors, and a lot of the drivers are getting into the fever here tonight right before Memorial Day weekend, and the real-life Coca-Cola 600. You know, honestly, if I was going out and looking for a good patriotic scheme, you know, I'll pick an underdog. I'll go with Jordi Lopez. He sits back in 29th, fighting for 28th here with Tyler Gary and even a bit of Quentin Warman. It's not red, white, and blue, but for BS Plus competition, it's a good patriotic scheme.
We said we had more to look at. Let's jump right back in, and it's to the second of the William Byron Esports cars, the number 25 Chevrolet of Nick Ottinger, Logitech G on that car, as always, longtime sponsor of this series, and a bit of a modern take on the Stars and Stripes. That's a good-looking one. And you were talking about some teams that have had good paint schemes. You mentioned Jim Beaver Esports. I'd put Channel 199 right up there in that conversation. Look at the Track Racer Simulation 199 Toyota, a Dylan Duval.
Yeah, I got to agree here. I mean, between the 2-car, the 199 car, they both have put in great paint schemes. And here's Zach Novak, a twice runner-up this season, the Segment 1 winner earlier on in the year. How about the camo look for the Ledford Billiard Supply Toyota Camry? You know, he said he was going to have a different look, and here it is with a bit of that Memorial Day flair. Great look, and, you know, I mentioned Jim Beaver Esports with the bangers. On the other end of it, Las Vegas winner Colin Keister. I think I like this one a little more than Nate Stewart's, but both of them very close for the best paint scheme out of the Jim Beaver Esports camp. Two of those guys, very, very good-looking paint schemes. And how about this? Threading the middle, 3 wide, Falkingham on a drop-off through the high side, and Keister moving through the top 15.
He's in a heck of a battle right now, chasing down the number 50 machine. Another one is the 89 of Jordi Lopez. How about a tip of the cap to the BS Competition Group, going all in on the Memorial Day theme as one of the non-American-based teams in the series. But that thing looks real nice with the stars across the hood on the rear bumper as well. So great job and great looking number 89 Chevrolet. And last but certainly not least, final of the patriotic cars will be featuring here on the show the number 3 of Blaze Crawford, the Coca-Cola Chevrolet. It's got America 250 on that car, the congressional-led celebration this year, the 250th anniversary, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Let's go on board with Blaze Crawford. It's your Coca-Cola onboard camera. Blaze Crawford continues to track the leaders. He rides in the number 7 position right now. Steven Wilson still up front. He continues to log some laps led. We mentioned earlier that Daniel Falkenham was really starting to struggle. You don't even see that name anymore, Kenneth, on the left-hand side of your screen, way down in 37th position for the car who started this race towards the front, led 18 laps, but it has really gone off the tracks in the last couple of laps for Daniel. I checked because he was so far down, thought maybe that car would have come down pit road for maybe unscheduled or early pit service, but no, it has just dropped off huge for that driver.
He's just trying to hang on to the thing. And I think at this point, 43 laps into a green flag run, the rear tires are starting to light up. Either that or the right front is starting to scream, and it's going to put you closer and closer to the outside wall. Falkenham had been in the race lead, and that's maybe the biggest drop-off we've seen. That is a huge drop through the field, and I imagine he is waiting for either a caution flag to come out or for lap 58 in that pit window to come through first, because he really desperately needs it as everyone in this race is back in the lead lap. We talk about differences in time, 31.9 at the stripe for leader Steven Wilson, as Falkenham came across 32 flat, just a little slower, but it was much bigger the lap before. He's just aiming to get right back into the rhythm.
Yeah, and I think a good showing that just a 1/10 of a second could make that much of a difference. Back up towards the front of the field, though, Vicente Salas, somebody else who was quietly picking his way through. He was behind Wilson back in traffic, but as the 77 marched through the field, he followed suit and has been able to get up into the number 2 spot, dropping your pole sitter Casey Kerwin down into 3rd. Femi Alonso-Bosin is 4th, Parker White is 5th, and as we are 45 laps into this race, looking at Blake McCandless and company battling for 11th on back, we are not that far away from pit stops. If you split this race in thirds, your magic number is 53, so we are getting close to the window opening for pit stops, but look how close these 5 cars are with the FGR-XL drivers right in the middle.
And the other team involved, they're the 2 Logitech G Chevrolets for William Byron Esports, both Tucker Minter, the Rockingham winner, and Rockingham pole sitter in Nick Ottinger. So 2 of the teams doing battle. McCandless getting a piece of the outside wall, and that's just going to let everyone through. And that's what we've seen here over the last several laps in this run. The drivers are just inching closer and closer to that safer barrier, looking for any bit of the grip they can get. You talked about that very hot track temperature in the triple digits when we got the green flag, and for right now, it hasn't necessarily calmed down. It's still at 123 degrees. And now Ottinger is in the sucker hole, middle, 3 wide. Here comes Graham Bolin. Here comes Cozy Jr. to the inside. McCandless remaining up top to play defense. And Jordi Lopez in the gang to make it at least 5 to 6 cars in a blanket through the top 20.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of cars get really loose in this battle for position. McCandless, a couple of shots to the bumper there, the 25 of Ottinger. Ottinger kind of used up McCandless on the exit of 4 last time. So Blake repaying the favor, maybe. Tight squeeze, 3 wide. Is there room for that many drivers? You got to be careful with those distinct kinks on the front stretch. A lot of paint being traded, even with the 34 of Cozy on the bottom. But Cozy, the core power machine, finally clear on the bottom. Can Ottinger get the job done on McCandless? Not clear. And the 8 will not go down. They get together. Contact to the apron goes the 89. Lopez spit out of line. Hangs on. What a save.
What a save for Jordi Lopez to keep it off. And I almost thought with the side draft there, the Ottinger would just get spun around down the back straightaway. Thankfully, they all keep it together. McCandless just hopped over the radio, and I don't know if there was any frustration or just maybe an apology there. Obviously, they're just racing hard for position. And I was just about to mention that blue and white 34 Michael Cozy Jr. doing what a lot of other guys are doing to gain track position. They slide into the corner. They do that little slide job where they make the move to the apex and they slide up, give the driver behind a bit of dirty air, and then make that pass complete. And Euroshak got a little too eager way earlier, slapped the outside wall, and now he's at the front end of this side-by-side battle that goes 2 rows deep. Brian LaPrade, and how about the 96 car?
That's Christopher Hill on the inside. The VRS Sim Racing Design Stormforce Gaming Chevrolet for the Apex Racing Team. Rookie stripes, middle of this battle, as he's kind of in the middle lane, kind of in the outside lane there. Little to no man's land. The two, though, headed to pit roads, going to dive off from the inside of these cars. And to pit lane comes Zach Novak, first driver to hit pit road in this race. The Ledford billiard supply machine is in. I said 53, the magic number. We are within that window, currently working lap number 51. So with him making the first decision, who wants to react, Tyler? Gary says he's pitting. Does Vicente Salas want to come? But a caution will come out just as a bunch of your leaders were getting set to dive to pit road. Kwame Scott is spun on the back straightaway, and all of those pit stops will now happen under the yellow flag.
And where does Zach Novak spit out in all of this, given the fact that he just came down pit road? I almost imagine that Daniel Falkingham will be down there first, given the struggles he encountered late in the run. There's a smoke still trying to clear out there from the exit of turn 2. But what a big-time caution. It's a saving grace for many of the guys at the front. I'm sure they were struggling behind the wheel, and now they can get a chance to slap on the first set of the 4 available to them on the Goodyear Eagles side of things down pit road. But once we get that second look at how it all unfolded, I think from what we saw with McCandless and Jordy Lopez and Nick Ottinger, well, that was a near miss off turn 2. This one was what possibly could have happened between Strauss and Kwame Scott.
Yeah, we knew things were starting to get sketchy, and it boils over there. We saw the 36 nose up against the inside wall, though. I didn't see a ton of damage, so maybe he was able to get away without being too bad. So all of your leaders down pit road, no surprise here. Going to be wholesale service as they are all down for service. Yellow flag number 1 as we close in on halfway home in the Coca-Cola 160. So far, it has been all Steven Wilson.
Welcome to Truck Country, where sweat becomes fuel, bumpers become bruisers, and pedals become pedestals. Where a future is written, one lap at a time, and burned into history. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition, making your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Welcome to more new ways to watch. A 5-race stretch only on Prime. More bright lights, more Nashville nights, more Motor City speed, more passion unleashed, more history made, more precision displayed, more moments you can't miss. And for the first time, only on Prime. Welcome to NASCAR.
This portion.
And back live in Charlotte, green flag is back in the air. The Coca-Cola 160 back underway. caution flag in this race meant that all the pit stops happened at once under the yellow, and it also meant that Zach Novak did not cycle to the front. The only car to pit before the yellow restarted back in the number 40 spot. But up front, Steven Wilson maintained his track position. He's clear for the lead. Same can't be said. The battle is on for fourth on back.
And once more, that outside couldn't get going. We saw how Casey Kerwin slowed up on the initial start, couldn't get back to full song in enough time to get back with the race lead. And now there is a bunch of 3 wide through the mid-pack. Malik Ray through the middle 3 in turn 1.
And the best seat in the house to the Vegas Inferno Chevrolet, the 15 machine to his outside. That's Colin Keister, the 34 to the inside. Michael Cozy Jr. not giving up, but there is nowhere for the Inferno Racing number 1 car to go right now. 15 clears him up top, but it is just next man up, squeezing through the outside. The number 29, Jimmy Mullis. He will not give up on the outside, and that top lane continues to be the conveyor belt. Another pass going to be completed off of turn 2.
You see these drivers 3 wide, and they're so close together, you're thinking, why are they nearly touching half the time? Well, that's because the side draft model is so strong with these next-gen cars. You want to pull the driver alongside backwards. You don't want to keep them moving ahead of you if they get momentum off of a corner exit, but you play a very dangerous game because our first caution came out with a situation like that. 3 wide, you're side drafting super close, and you could suck the driver around if you catch their quarter panel at the very wrong time. So thankfully, all of those guys get away without the contact, and if they did, maybe a rub here or there. And Michael Cozy Jr. making a big-time ground up to 15th off the restart.
He's doing a good job on the inside of the racetrack as the number 15 car of Colin Keister caught the fence right here last lap off at turn 4 with that safer barrier. Just kind of smacked it with the right-hand side. You saw a bit of smoke come off of it. Doesn't appear to be damaged. That misadventure Ford continues on without further incident. A little bit ahead of this, we talked a lot about Femi Olatunbosin. The number 7 was a top 5 machine once upon a time, or at least on the doorstep of being up there. Now he's got some work to do to get back up to his teammate, who continues to lead. Up front, Wilson able to hold 3 car length advantage for the number 1 spot. And Kenneth, you said on the grid that you were looking for Parker White to bounce back to get into the conversation. He is here now up to P2.
A solid restart, got to the inside of Casey Kerwin, and now there is 1 man to beat. 2 of the guys that went head-to-head in the championship race at Homestead just last season, where Wilson was in this spot ahead of White, who was holding back until the very last moment, and the final restart where he made it basically 3 to 4 wide for the championship title there off the final few corners. And White has been struggling, you said that, and that's of course right, but mile and a half seemed to be very good to him. Started 5th in 2024 and came home 3rd on the podium, right behind that photo finish between Garrett Lowe and Jimmy Mullis. So the Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Group trying to bounce back in a nice way. 0.2 of a second between the leaders, but based on what we've seen from the several restarts in the initial start, everyone all together.
I mentioned that it was a unanimous decision amongst the Countdown to Green experts on who to look for tonight. Nobody feeling risky in the picks. They all went with Steven Wilson, and so far that has proved to be the correct decision. That time by lap lead number 43 on the afternoon already. So Wilson has been dominant, and he was able to pull away and grow his gap on the first run of this race. So as the battle for 3rd comes and goes, in a pass, Zelensky around Kerwin for the number 3 spot, the question becomes, on this second run, A, can we get a green flag run out of this? And then number 2, is Steven Wilson going to pull as this run goes on again? Or with the likes of White, Zelensky, and others who have been a little bit more consistent on this run, not letting them get away, are they going to be able to manage the tires and stick with that 77 car?
It's just all going to be a waiting game, but it seems like 2nd and 3rd are really starting to gain ground. Not sure whether that's Wilson just hanging back knowing he's in the clean air or what, but look at the contact right behind Grant Poland getting a touch there, entering turns 3 and 4. Femi Olatunbosin, you mentioned him, the fall back to the mid-pack, now inside the top 12, is just wanting to break free from whatever's going on around him, side by side, several rows deep. And how about Colin Bowden, who ran third at the start of this race, also with a bit of a drop off there and having to work hard to get back to the front with McCandless right behind. I think things have calmed down through the mid-pack here, but how about a standout performance for Graham Bolin? Hasn't had the season to begin, and we anticipated Bolin would be a heavy hitter alongside Casey Kerwin. Hasn't been that way yet, with the 48 car making big time moves here through the top 10.
So far, only one top 10 on the season for Graham Bolin, an average finish of 23rd. That team wants more, and the pickup up 11 positions from where he started this race, a sign that that could be happening. We take a look on board with Christopher Hill, the driver out of Johnson City, Tennessee, back in 39th position as they run at the moment. The question is, well, how did he get that far back? Let's take a second look at a bit of an adventure that he had. Bottom of your screen, 3 wide, run down the back straightaway. This was probably low 30s, high 20s, and right there across the nose one of the Williams cars. A bit of a touch there, but a great job to save that car, and a tip of the cap to the drivers around him to give him the chance to save that car. He drops to 39th. It is not good news, but the good news is he's still on the racetrack and has the chance to compete. He will probably, though, want to yellow. I don't think the tires appreciated that big slide at about 150 miles an hour.
That's a lot of credit, though, to Jordy Lopez, just barely getting around there. Heart-stopping moment as Hill is sideways. But remember, Donovan Strauss was on the bottom end of 3 wide when the first caution came out with Kwame Scott. It seemed the same happened there, just fighting hard and side drafting for position. And they've been 3 wide at the back here since. Donovan Strauss has not been able to escape anything throughout this mid-pack of the top 25. And that includes Dylan Duval, that's Garrett Lowe back there on the high side. Connor Yuroshak, the rookie, just trying to rumble through the middle. And how about Nick Ottinger, who we saw through the mid-pack just gaining positions here and there, now having to reset and try it all over again. It seems as though the first 10 to 15 laps of this run, you cannot get away from each other. That's until the tires start screaming. That's when the setup difference really starts to stand out, and we get very spread out racing. But for right now, everyone's on each other.
And look at the Vegas Inferno cars lined up nose to tail on the bottom. Malik Ray 17th, and Michael Guest behind him in 19th spot. The one of Malik made a move on the outside line to pass the 48 car. Well, the 21 of Machina Guest kind of stuck on the bottom right now, not really making those moves. And if anything, he's the one under attack as they run right now. But if you're up top, you get such a big run down the backstretch. You saw Bolin get a run there. Fortunately for Malik, he was able to get up and seal that off, and the 48 just ended up pushing him down the back straightaway. But it is a race to the top, it seems, to try to carry speed through the corner and make passes. You get stuck on the bottom, you could easily lose 3-4 spots in the blink of an eye. His 21 car does not want to go down, though, without a fight. Trying to make a move down low, and look at the slide. Knows that he's not going to have the speed off the corner, so he goes in low, pulls up in front of the 17, takes that run away. Well-executed move from the inside for Michael Guest.
And if you've watched the last several years of Charlotte racing here in this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, you can tell the very different ways of how these guys are driving the cars. And I remember a couple years back when Malik Ray had led laps here at Charlotte, his method was getting both left side tires at the very inside of the racetrack where that blue and white paint strip is on the bottom end of the banking, and that helped him rotate through the corner. It doesn't seem to be that way tonight because everyone's using the bottom through the early portion of the run. They're putting so much energy in there, it slickens up in a heartbeat, and so that's why you're seeing everyone go up to the middle lane and some getting very close to the outside wall. That's where they're finding the grip in this very hot track temperature from Concord, North Carolina in sim. And the great battles continue between Michael Guest, Malik Ray, who's had 3 top 5s this season, including a runner-up at Talladega the last time we raced in this series, and possible battle for the lead still within a car length or 2.
Yeah, good job keeping it honest up front. You touch on, how this racetrack races in these next-gen cars, and one of the things I always enjoy on Countdown to Green is when Alan takes us through the trends. There were a couple of interesting ones that stood out to me. First one, he mentioned 13 of the 16 race winners at Charlotte started inside of the top 10, but that hadn't happened since about 2019 from the front row, and that about a third of the race winners had led the most laps in this race, but that hadn't happened since 2020. What do those kind of have in common, right, is we're not seeing those those trends continue in this next gen era. It has just been more competitive, more crazy, and that was one of the interesting things I picked up on from earlier in the show, is that those trends that have been built through the 2010s, maybe not the case in this new era. Mention that we are halfway through the regular season. At the end of tonight, there's a live look at your playoff points in the leaderboard on the right-hand side of your screen. Of course, your 4 race winners so far this year get the bump up to the top, and Steven Wilson wants to make it race win number 4 on the season. If he can continue to dominate, Kenneth, or if we see some of the other race winners this year find more wins, we could be looking at a record number of spots in on points. I am not writing that down in pen yet. There is a long way to go, but we've had years where there have been more race winners than spots available. This year, maybe trending the opposite direction. Points, positions could be aplenty. Say that 3 times fast.
That's true. And, you know, my experience as a broadcaster has taught me one thing personally, and that is to never say the fate before it ever happens, because the opposite could very well occur. Maybe we see a ton of different winners and everyone's just fighting to get in based on how many drivers have wins, and it just ekes out at a moment's notice. But you're right, a ton of the guys in points. And you look at the cut line from where it was, only several points separate Femi Olatunbosin and Dylan Ault. You think of both of their seasons through the first 6 or so races, they've had great campaigns. Dylan Ault has only had 2 finishes outside of the top 10. You look at Femi Olatunbosin, same deal there, except he's got 3 finishes outside of the top 10, but many a race have been very, very solid. And they're not only running for the Drivers' Championship, the Team Championship matters too. And as we get to look on board with Malik Ray and Michael Guest right in front of him, they're kind of way back trying to fight between Olatunbosin and Wilson that have been way up and dominating the field.
And it is a good showing tonight for the Spire Motorsports Group. No surprise with Wilson and Olatunbosin first and 10th, because coming into tonight, the Channel 199 Sim Racing team were the points leaders for the team championship by 4 points ahead of Spire. Well, now they've got a 40-point buffer to their own right, so it is a great night for them. It's a pretty good night for those Vegas Inferno cars. Both of their drivers right now running inside the top half of the field. Those are all important check boxes, as we are 3 laps away from being halfway home in this Coca-Cola 160. And is Steven Wilson feeling the pressure for really the first time tonight? Remember, he started this race back in 16th spot, drove through the field, has been dominant, and really hasn't faced much pressure since he got to P1. But not only has Parker White kept him honest, Parker White is making a move now, looking to the inside in a battle for the race lead.
You know, a lot of drivers, Evan, haven't been making up speed on the very bottom lane. Parker White seems to be one of the sole exceptions in this top 10. He's been rolling the bottom, faithful to that seam right above the painted line, while Wilson has been more eager with experimenting up top. And as long as Parker can get a nose to the quarter panel of that 77, that could very well mean business in the battle for the lead. But don't look now. 3rd and 4th is starting to creep up. How about Ryan Luza for the FGR Excel camp? And he put himself in a similar position midway through the Las Vegas race before things really got dicey later on in the run. But the 12 is starting to push forward, and so is Zelensky. Top 4 under a blanket to turn 1.
Ryan Luza may be feeling a bit like Brad Keselowski so far this year. That car has not qualified poorly. It's got an average start at 12th, but an average finish at 25th. So he has no top 10s, of course, no top 5s to speak for, is 31st in the driver standings. So Ryan Luza really enjoying the good run tonight, and his teammate Seth the Merchant doubling down on that, because he's also in a top 10 spot. He has passed 9 drivers after starting in 17th to get up to the number 8 spot. So Luza working the outside, and he would jump back to the Merchant, looking up to his teammate. Both of the FGR XL cars running top 10.
This is a run you need if you are FGR XL. With the season that those 2 drivers have had, some glimmers of promise, but a lot of bad luck, a lot of poor situations where they ended up on the bad end of crashes and, you know, restarts that didn't go their way, and they kind of got mired back through the field. This is a type of run they desperately need. 2 top 10s, possibly put yourself in the position to win in the second half, and you could very well change the projection of the season. You saw the look up front, though, and it's a new colored car. The Atlassian Williams Sim Racing Group driver of Parker White takes the lead away for the first time in a while.
So Parker White gets out and in front. What can he do with this? It's interesting. We talk about he's been maybe quiet He's still fourth in the driver standings, right? I mean, it hasn't been terrible for him. 4 top 5s over the course of the 6 races so far this year. And again, with points positions available based on how the wins have been spread out so far this year, well on his way to trying to return to the eNASCAR playoffs. But you know, Parker White, chip on his shoulder, wanting to come in, wanting to play title defense and to make a statement, knows that this is the level of competition that he expects to have, and it is no surprise that he has dumped up into this. So I think they learned a little bit. After Wilson dominated the first stint in this race, they learned lessons from what the 77 did. And now on the second run, it's the number 95 taking them to school. What can they pick up from what Parker White is doing? And can they do anything about it? Steven Wilson, his slide may not be done because the next man up, the number 22 of Bobby Zelensky, already showing low and trying to make a move for number 2 spot.
And there are notes taken all across this field. In this top 4, it's more about how differently does my car feel when it's in traffic versus when it's in clean air. Parker's starting to take notes of that now with his North Force teammates and the Atlassian Williams sim racing drivers, just figuring out how the car handles here once it is in the clear projection. And now Wilson has to deal with a car that's in the middle of traffic. So how differently does he try and drive this car? Now that he's sitting at least behind one machine that'll send a bunch of turbulent air on the rear end of the Chevrolet. For right now, the notes haven't been coming to fruition, although he's maintaining that defense on Bobby Zelensky. And then all the guys in the midfield, well, I guess they're just scrapping for each other. Taylor Hurst, who had been in the top 10 through the opening run of the race, had such a strong car. I think it's plateaued a bit down to 16th, and there's Boland and Mullis going at it for the battle. And Garrett Lowe stepping into the top 19 here after rolling off 28.
He's done a good job. There's been a lot of opportunities, to that point of drivers using these green flag runs. I mentioned off at the top, a lot of people were really excited about this longer race distance at 160 laps, right? We go to Nashville, Kansas the next 2 weeks. Those are 100 laps. That's what we're used to seeing in mid-2020s race lengths in this series, but this is kind of a throwback to the 2010s of race distance. A lot of drivers like that. They feel like the long green flag runs, if they can get them, can give them chances to make those moves. And there's at least, I'll do a quick glance to my timing and scoring screen, at least 3 drivers who have gained 20 or more positions in this race. And we haven't seen, with the exception of Mullis, right, an ill-timed yellow, everybody pitted together except for Mullis. So all of those positions gained have happened on the racetrack, and really giving drivers with good racecraft and race pace an opportunity to step into the limelight and take advantage of it.
And it's a similar tale of the tape to the Rockingham race, right? 200 laps, and we saw similar phenomenons occur where a lot of big movers to the field, drivers getting loose, drivers all over the place trying to save these race cars. Hard racing in the beginning, but once things step out and things start to extend on a green flag run, that's where you really see the way these drivers handle these 3,400-pound virtual stock cars around this mile-and-a-half track that doesn't seem to be cooling down by any stretch of the imagination. It seems to be rather static here. And speaking of 2 drivers that have done a good job at moving up to the field and getting up to win, Alan brought this up in Countdown to Green, and I kind of had my mind blown when Lowe started first in this race 2 years ago. Minter ended up winning, and then last year, Minter started on the pole, and then Garrett Lowe ended up taking the dub by 1/1000th of a second, but still ended up winning. So it's kind of cool to see that mirror image or that kind of relationship parallel between these two, and it happens at one track. I don't know if there is superstition out there, but seems to be around between these two guys.
And they started 19th and 26th, respectively, tonight. So I'm trying to come up in my head with what that's going to equate to, but a fun trend that I think those drivers will both take with a race win in each of the last 2 races. Back towards the front of the field, Bobby Zelensky continuing his charge through the front, and it is all at the expense of Steven Wilson, because the number 22 car was able to get by Wilson and then move that lap to get around Parker White, and at lap number 91, new race leader Bobby Zelensky. There was a point in this race when we dropped the green flag where I was getting Talladega vibes a little bit, Kenneth. I was looking at the top 10, and there were no race winners this year running in the top 9. Just seemed like qualifying worked out. I'm thinking, all right, we're going to have some new faces up and in the conversation. But right now, your 4 race winners, Zelensky first, Wilson 5th, Minter 8th, and Keister in 12th. Last time we checked in with Keister, he was mid-30s. So your race winners from this year have come to play, and they occupy 1/3 of the spots inside of the top 12.
You know, it's funny with the irony of the statement you made earlier with the next-gen era being so full of parity and a bunch of new drivers getting to victory lane and not a lot of the trends panning out. Well, I guess in 2025, the best drivers are top-heavy, and the top-heavy is the conversation in 2025. And Bobby Zelensky has put on a methodical race so far. I mean, he started 10th in this one, was only up 4 by the time the first yellow came out to break up the first green flag run, and ever since he has been magnificent. And here he is at segment 2, came in as the segment race leader, the segment leader overall after winning Talladega, and now just banking off and parlaying it into another fantastic run, and now putting 16 points between himself and the pole sitter tonight, Casey Kerwin.
And of course, you see the 24 car there, second in the segment points, the 95 to 4th. They're all up and in this conversation, but this is the toughest of the segments. Segment number 1, 5 races long, a little bit more time. This one's only 4, so less of a chance to have an off night. And again, this segment important not only because it pays some cash, which is always a nice pickup, but of course your segment champions get some playoff points that they'll be able to carry over into the postseason should they qualify. So it is a good time to have a good time. If you're Bobby Zelensky, a race winner a couple of weeks ago in Talladega, right now leading this race at Charlotte, that's why that car's got 80 in the segment points as they run. Perfect 80. And I mentioned those playoff points on the line. Well, Zach Novak was your segment 1 champ. So he's the one who walked away with the $3,000 prize and the 5 playoff points. I know 3,000 next to 5. You feel like the cash is the big one there, Kenneth, but those 5 playoff points could be a huge step and you walking away with the $100,000 at the end of the year.
Small number, but it pays big time dividends. And you know, we talk about Novak's race. He started at the very back end of this field because he came down pit road early around lap 50. Then the caution came out right after, and he had to get the wave around, did not get the track position as a result. And so he's been grinding slowly but surely here, up 8 since the drop of the green flag on the restart, up to 32nd. But we showed just how hard it is to pass at Charlotte Motor Speedway, now given the slickness of the surface, and now in our second green flag run where everyone's deep on 43 laps, Novak 2 laps worse at 45. So he's just aiming to scrap through this field, and there are the 2 Chevrolets in front, Kwame Scott, Quentin Warman among those that haven't had strong races. Scott recovering from being involved in the only caution of this race so far. And so both of them in the same path, taking notes, but Novak is moving up regardless, and progress is progress, you know?
Hey, trying to chip away, doing everything he can to get back up and into a position in which he started. P32 is not where that Ledford Billiard supply machine wants to see it ending, but again, stuck back there, the Sunoco 94 Octane 36 car and Kwame Scott, that battle for position. You got some of the e-racer cars in the mix there as well. The money lap on board, the team that's co-owned by Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle. That's the 42 of Clampett, who's coming off of some success in recent weeks as an eNASCAR college champ. So a lot of competition, a lot of big hitters all throughout this field.
And he also had the special paint scheme to commemorate the College Series championship. And as we enter this run of the race, 63 laps to go. We talked about that pit window on the Logitech G Race Analysis 7. The max you can go is 62 laps from the estimation. Obviously, that's very different based on tire saving or fuel saving and all of that. But 62 laps is the way to go. And right here, we're at that window where should most of the field come down pit road, they can theoretically go all the way to the checkered. It's just a matter of how long everyone's actually willing to go. Everyone's on lap 46 or so on their stint, so they can go a little longer. But Zach Novak made the call to undercut. I'm probably anticipating the same deal if it means going up front and having the race lead, but tires have mattered so much. Kind of counts it into the balance for the teams, especially these guys in the mid-pack that haven't gotten away from most of the other drivers around, and they want to make a difference right now.
And you've got options, right? You could pit now, get on the fresh tires, make up some time, but you're going to have to nurse your tires longer than anybody else to the end of the race. You could split it in the middle, right? 5 laps from now or so will be at about 54 laps on the tires with about 54 laps to go. that would be maybe the easiest decision, is to split it right down the middle and have 2 runs of the same length. You could do the opposite. You could run it later on this run, give up a bunch of time by staying out the longest on old tires, but then have the freshest tires for the last run and have to make them last the shortest amount of times. 3 options: go for the undercut, split it in the middle, or go for the overcut. We will see. I suspect we will see some drivers down pit road any lap now. So now a waiting game where the radios light up and the team strategists are starting those discussions. Bobby Zalenski only 2/10 up on Luza. Do we see the leaders split strategy, or do they maybe match each other, right? If you're Luza, do you feel like you got a car that can beat Bobby Zalenski? Do you try to follow what strategy he does? On the contrary, if you're somebody slotting, how about Steven Wilson struggling a little bit, right? Down and now into the number 7 spot. As you've been struggling on this run, Kenneth, maybe he chooses the opposite. Maybe he decides to go off strategy compared to the leaders to try something different.
Yeah, you follow the trends as a race car driver when you think about pit road and what's going on in the run. I'd say Wilson, knowing his situation, it's not a dire one because he does have a solid gap back to his teammate, Femi Olatubosun, by about 1.5 seconds. So it's not like there will be a big consequence if he comes down earlier, but why not take that advantage? And I'd say if you're Bobby Zalenski or Ryan Luza, stay out. Stay out as long as possible, because we saw at Rockingham, a similar type race, hard to drive track, very long green flag run, distance. But what you want to do there is stay out as much as you can and then extend that gap. That's what Tucker Minter did, and that's exactly what got him the victory. So maybe take some notes from what happened at that track a little bit ago on April 8th.
Well, you mentioned that Ryan Luza's got company on the 3rd position on the old-time wins list. It has been a long time since he has been to eNASCAR victory lane. Last win coming at Bristol in 2022. And it has not been a great year for him thus far. Is a return to eNASCAR victory lane in the cards for one of the most successful drivers all-time in series history. You're on board with him. As he rounded turn 4, I saw a little bit of smoke on the pit lane. Dylan Duval is on pit road. That is the start of the pit strategy, and there are more drivers jumping on the radio saying that they're going to be coming down pit road this time by. Femi Olatubosun may be one of them. He's on the radio. The 11 is Salas chatting. He's in the number 11 spot. How many drivers are going to be peeling off this time off of 4?
They got to be really careful, though. Slowing down to 45 miles an hour, making sure you clear everyone down low. Femi Olatubosun is in, hop on the brakes, and all the smoke coming out from the 4 Goodyear Eagles on Olatubosun's machine. Salas is in. It looks like that is Kwame Scott that just came down pit road as well. So I like the call here. Undercut from some of the mid-pack guys. 3 very different scenarios for these cars, the 2 Chevys and that 1 Toyota in Vicente Salas.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a proud partner of America 250, celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco, performance is what we do.
In trouble for the race leader, Bobby Zalenski locking up the right front tire on the entrance to pit road. Got slammed into the back of by Casey Kerwin. Did he avoid a speeding penalty by locking it up? Ole, your top 5 cars are in for service as it hands the race lead off for the moment to Seth DeMerchant.
Look at the drama there on pit road, and Zalenski did evade a black flag for pit road speeding, but at the cost of his rear bumper. There's a big dent on the back end of his ERA Esports Chevrolet from Casey Kerwin there hopping on the brakes. So I don't know how much that will affect the aerodynamic downforce on the car, but with a bent spoiler, it's going to chop off a couple miles an hour, and it'll hurt when you get into these corners on the older set of tires. And now the bunch is coming in. Graham Bolin, Connor Euroshak, it looks like Colin Bowden is in as well. So a lot of other guys in. So is Colin Keister and Cody Bias, while the leaders remain out in Minter and DeMerchant. And I think we're going to see some more. Zach Novak, who pitted earliest out of everyone before the first caution came out, he's in at lap 109.
He's down to the pit lane this time. Most drivers picking the later option. They have run more laps on these tires than there are left to go in this race. So the overcut seems to be the popular decision. Let's go on board with Bobby Zalenski trying to get down to pit road speed here at Charlotte. And again, the right front is the one that locked up. You see even Kerwin was sideways before the contact there. I think Kerwin very fortunate that the front of that race car does not have damage. There is damage to the back of Zalenski's machine. Will that hurt him as these cars cycle back around? Eddie Kerner down to pit road this time. Still waiting on 17 drivers, though, to come in and get serviced. Christopher Hill says that he'll be pitting. Michael Cozy says that he'll be pitting. So another slew going to be coming to pit road this time. What does DeMerchant do as the leader? He will stay out once more. So does Tucker Minter, who is hot on his heels.
A good decision here by Minter. You know, he started this race back in 19th and was in the mid-pack, hadn't been in the spotlight for most of it, and I guess employing that Rockingham strategy of staying out as long as livingly possible. And here come another bunch down pit road. Quentin Warman, the rookie, is in. So is Tyler Gary. Alexander Russell is in. So is Garrett Lowe. He came down pit road along with this group. I think he was the leader of the pack as they came out of turn 4. And now the leaders are deciding this is their moment with 49 to go. DeMerchant and Minter hard on the brakes, down to the line. All of the smoke coming out of the 14 car. And we talk about how close the competition is in this series. These guys want to extract every bit of performance out of these cars, and that includes getting right on the limit to pit road.
Yeah, and over the limit in the case of Alexander Russell. He was a mid-30s car, trying to get a little bit more out of the pit stop, speeding on a pit road entry. So a black flag to the 66 car. He has an extended stay on the pit lane, and that is certainly going to cost him the handful of spots that were still up for grabs. Jimmy Mullis has assumed the #1 position. Here he comes to pit road, trying to slow it down from 150 miles an hour. Pit road speed 45. A little bit of smoke in the right front. I think he's down just enough. Dylan Alt is also down pit road. That's the red car behind him.
It's 6 cars that are staying out here, and there's LaPrade, who's going to lead a couple of laps from Charlotte. But I'm watching the battle for the net race lead, and it's starting to get close. Zelensky got passed by Kerwin, and I'd imagine the product of that is the damage on the rear bumper and how much of that is affecting Zelensky's downforce through the green flag stretch. But they are creeping up on Steven Wilson. That 1 lap difference, that Wilson came down pit road earlier than the other 2, Evan. It's a good call by Wilson in theory because, you know, you're running in the mid-pack, you're starting to fall off. Why not try something different as a 3-time winner this season? I'd say the hungriest of them all is Casey Kerwin, still winless, hasn't won a race since 2023 back at Darlington in mid-May. He really wants a pick-me-up in 2025, and this could be it. And they're now within at least 0.3 of a second of the net race leader in Wilson.
Let's take a second look on the bottom of your screen as Briar LaPrade is going to come in from the race lead and see what happened with Colin Bowden off the corner. Big difference in speed. Really enjoying the fact that it is the turf on the inside of the racetrack and not the grass. He cut those kinks in the quad oval, and that's one way to get around 2 cars that are out there on old tires. Just take a bit of a shortcut, go through the artificial turf here on the front straightaway. LaPrade out in front of this race still. I mentioned the 88 was coming to pit road that last time. I think he wanted to, Kenneth. He slowed way down, but did not end up diving in. Maybe it was just a bit of an optical illusion, right? How much slower that car was compared to the cars catching him on fresh rubber. Nonetheless, he did not pit, evidently. He is one of only 4 cars that have yet to come down pit road, and they're all up front. LaPrade, Busa, Nate Stewart, and Daniel Falkenham, the cars who have yet to come down pit road. Nate Stewart in a bit of an interesting situation tonight, racing from a friend's house this evening. He does not have power at his home due to recent severe weather in the Kentucky area. Our best thoughts are with everybody in that region of the country here tonight. So Nate in a little bit of an unfamiliar position, but still able to make this race and really taking a swing at things on the strategy here.
It's purposeful, though. All of them are staying out, praying for some kind of yellow flag. And, you know, I wouldn't bet against staying out for a potential caution. I mean, at Rockingham, through the middle of the green flag strategy, we saw cautions come out because of the blend between the fresh and old tire cars. The speed difference is so high that there could easily be a mistake. I mean, watch that 3-wide move that we saw in the replay. That could have easily been a caution. if somebody stepped out of line, somebody got a little too close, and somebody played with disaster. But Falkingham decides it's going to be pull the trigger on this decision. And look how close all of these guys are. The top 5 for the net race lead are all within at least 1 to 2 tenths of a second. They are on each other. The main goal is to get right back to Stephen Wilson.
You mentioned the battle for the net race lead. This is it. It's the number 4 spot on the racetrack currently. Stephen Wilson, once those top 3 cycle to pit road, will assume the race lead. So this is a battle for 4th now. But if this stays green, this is the battle for the win. Wilson in 4th, Kerwin 5th, Zelensky 6th, and Luza 7th. There's a quick peek to pit road. Matt Busa down pit road. He's in for service. That leaves only LaPrade and Stewart on the racetrack as these 5 drivers with a chance to win this race lined up nose to tail.
And usually we talk about gaps of 15, 19, 20 seconds sometimes in these green flag stints. The gap to the race leader is only 9 seconds and closing because of that big time fresh tire difference. And LaPrade is going to have to call for it with no yellow inside 41 to go. There he is, very safe on his pit road entry. And Nate Stewart will go out there and actually not lead a lap. He'll stay right behind. So this 5-car battle is what we're going to be watching for. And here comes Casey Kerwin. Peak to the inside on fresh tires. The Coca-Cola machine back to the front with 40 laps to go.
Kerwin and Zelensky both with a lap fresher rubber than the 77 Wilson. Both of them make the pass. Nice job by the 22 to slide up and get clear. Down the back straightaway. Kerwin to first, Zelensky to second. Ryan Luza wants some more. Not going to be able to make it stick, though, that time on the inside. So the 77 Wilson maintains third as they run now. Remember, the 24 and the 22 made contact getting onto pit road during the green flag pit cycle. The 24 lucky to not get any visible damage on the front of the car. Zelensky does have some visible damage on the rear of the car, but the back of these race cars a lot less aerodynamically sensitive and important than the nose as it cuts through the air. Zelensky seems to be unaffected, and now he, trying to make a move for the lead, is on the bumper of the leader.
And watch the 2 in the background here, the black and blue Toyota and Chevrolet. That's Parker White at the back of this, Ryan Luza, who's sitting in 4th. The key in this run with 38 to go with the green flag strategy, as you assume it's going to stay green, is to keep a patient eye. How long did it take for Bobby Zelensky to move up through the field? That's because he had saved the Goodyear Eagles to have the life to stretch it out until the end of the run. And who's to say we can't go this entire run on green flag racing, because those guys in the back who have been mostly patient and have played with being a little more aggressive throughout the race, they can watch and see what happens in the train and then start to attack. It's like a peloton at the front of the field where Kerwin is leading, but maybe doesn't want to be at the front because of who's right behind him.
And just behind this lead group is Vicente Salas. It's a top 5 breakaway, a big pocket of racetrack, and then Vicente Salas. He is watching this racing going on at the front of the field, hoping that he can catch up. Behind him, Femi Olatunbosin in tow in the number 7 Chevrolet. Is there any chance that these cars that are 1.6 seconds behind the leaders can catch up? Well, this kind of race up front certainly going to help them out as well. To the lead goes Bobby Zelensky, the number 22 car on the outside, takes over P1.
And the drivers at the front, they're cutting through lap traffic, but it seems like the lap traffic is cutting through them. That's the driver who led right before coming down the lane. Latest, Brian LaPrade, that Ledford Billiard Supply Junior Motorsports green Chevrolet. He's cutting through, and he gave a big bump to Stephen Wilson down the back straightaway a lap ago, and it will help Stephen Wilson get to the front. LaPrade shuffles in front of Bobby Zelensky in the attempt to unlap himself, and with 35 to go, the peloton continues its switch. Stephen Wilson back to the lead.
Wilson back to the lead, and the good news is LaPrade, who pitted only 5 laps ago and has got 13 lap better tires than these leaders, much quicker than them, and was able to get through without much incident, but was a factor despite his best efforts in the slightest. So Wilson back to the point, Zelensky in second, Kerwin third, Luza fourth, and Parker White in the number 5 spot. Your top 2 cars, already race winners this season, already know that they will compete in the eNASCAR playoffs in 2025. But for Kerwin, Luza, and White. Big opportunities here to take some weight off of your shoulders. Of course, you've got to maintain a minimum position in the points for the win, and you're in the count. That would be a conversation still if Ryan Luza could pull this one out, but Kerwin and White also looking to be rewarded, and that gap building for the 77 car. Kerwin does not go for the pass. Instead, he'll push Zelensky.
You got to think with Salas and Femi Bosun not that far behind, you remain side by side and you're going to kill your run. You're going to slow down considerably, and those guys running single file, they understand their assignment, and their assignment is to stay single file and just catch up, and that will help as they continue battling for the lead. Look at this inside the top 10 though. Blake McCandless with a best finish of 11th earlier this season at Rockingham, trying to best that by 2 and maybe more. Vegas winner Colin Keister's in the mix. Blaze Crawford is here, and a lot of these guys trying to get right in the mix for the playoff cut line. Many of them still far out, and this could be a good boost if they make up the track position.
Yeah, as they run right now, the number 7 of Femi Bosun, the 11 of Salas, and the 199 Dylan Duval tied for 2 spots in and 1 spot out. So if the regular season were to end tonight, we'd be looking at quite a tiebreak for that final spot. Again, a long way to go after tonight. 7 races in the regular season, down 7 left to go. But that right there is the exact reason why you do not want to just coast your way through into victory lane and maybe into the playoffs on consistent runs. Yes, there's going to be opportunities for drivers to get in on points, but those kind of close margins are why you want a checkered flag in your back pocket. You want this one to be a no doubt about it. Quick look at Tucker Minter. He's in the number 10 spot. Replay on the bottom of your screen. Some trouble with those patriotic cars that we had checked in with. Into the outside wall. Squeezed up top there was Dylan Duval. Not what he wants to see. His night has still been excellent, though. Up 22 spots from the grid.
You're playing with fine margins there, side by side. You understand with 29 laps to go, it's going to be go time at some point, and gaining track position is what's going to matter. And then this cut for the fight inside the top 10, anything is going to play out well for you if you move forward, because the tires are going to get worse, the driving is going to get worse behind the wheel, and so you have to nurse this stock car while trying to maintain that track position. So Duval's going to end up back there, but not enough damage to really kill him out of this race. But look who's cutting through the top 10 right now and nearly in trouble down the quad-oval. Tucker Minter, who's got fresher tires by 7 laps to Vicente Salas. He'll make the move up high. They just about made contact as Salas shut the door basically off of turn 4. Minter may have something to play with here in the final 28.
Yeah, you see, he wiped some of the sweat off his forehead there. That was a pressure-packed moment for the driver inside of the top 10. And I said I would hold judgment until I saw the rest of the patriotic paint schemes, but I'm sticking with my call from the first half. I think my favorite of the patriotic schemes from the race is that 97 to Tucker Minter. No prizes, no cash money. Sorry, can't offer much more than that, Tucker, but I'm loving that number 97 Logitech G Chevrolet. Kenneth, you've seen them all also. Any of the red, white, and blue cars stand out at the top for you?
You know, I'm not thinking red, white, and blue. I'm thinking blue, white, and green, because I really, really do like the design for BS Plus competition and Jordi Lopez, the way that they're kind of playing into that patriotic theme. Even though they're not an American-based team in this series, they're still getting in on the action, and I think they understand the gravity of a race like the Coca-Cola 160 in this series and the Coke 600 in the NASCAR Cup Series side of things, how important it is to honor the country and to get in on that field. So I'm going to go with the New Jersey native of Jordi Lopez, a team that didn't need to get creative because of their heritage this week, but they definitely did it, and they got a great scheme out of it.
Yeah, tip of the cap to all the teams, all of the graphic design artists behind these paint schemes. I've said for a long time that some of the best looking race cars you'll see anywhere are here on the sim. And we talk about the sim to reality pipeline. We're seeing that with drivers. We're seeing that with graphic design artists as well. Starting on iRacing, designing cars here on the sim, and have had many opportunities now to see some of those paint schemes in the real world. So tip of the hat to all of the talented people behind the scenes for making these race cars look so good as they go fast here on Tuesday nights. We are inside of 25 laps to go here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Steven Wilson really fell off and struggled in the middle portion of this race, but all of a sudden the GGT Chevrolet is back to life, and it is not a comfortable margin, but it is a margin. Call it what, 4 car lengths maybe over Kerwin, Luza, and White behind him. The 77 enjoying the benefits of clean air.
You know, I don't know if there's going to be a journalism type bump and run to get to the front at the end of this race. Should it come down to just straight up dash on tires, but what I will see is an adjustment here from Steven Wilson, because he definitely took notes from that run that really fanned out. And as soon as Zelensky and company took over control, Wilson could not find the edge. And at one point, didn't really plateau. He just kept a drastic and very big fall off through the field on tires. I'd say through that pit stop with the open setups at Spire Motorsports, got the adjusted car ready, and he needs to outlast this competition on the long run. And I think he likes what he sees in the rearview mirror, because Luza's got some fire to move with. He slides up to third through Parker White and just about made a move on Kerwin there before turn 1.
He keeps thinking about it. Casey Kerwin really wants to get the job done. It's the Coca-Cola car. This is the Coca-Cola 160. It's the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I mean, what a story it would be for the 24 Chevrolet to get this done and make all the folks over at the Coca-Cola Company happy, representing their brand well here on a Tuesday night. He is the next man up. He is the one that has the best chance currently to challenge Wilson for the lead, but the problem is he's closer to the car behind him than he is to the leader. So near misses, back in traffic. Blake McCandless and Ifemi Olatunbosin, that battle for 11th and 12th position.
It's starting to get real chippy here, though, because you look at old tires and how much things will change. Look at Bowden slaying shot to the inside. A wonderful move off of turn 2, and he may just get a 2-for-1 here off of the final corner. He'll stay put, the right front screaming for grip, staying in front of McCandless. He's loose out of 4. He'll skip through the turf, and it's a near miss again between these 3. Colin Bowden getting moved barely out of line off turn 4, and now here comes the rest of the pack. Guest, Lowe, and Salas in the mix.
I know it's just a sim, but that turf and how smooth it is on this newest scan of iRacing Charlotte Motor Speedway allowed Colin Bowden to save that race car. You go to some of these other intermediate racetracks with real grass, the scan represents that. No, you can't really dive into the dirt, but it's rough. Those cars get airborne sometimes when they go through the front stretch grass and over the tri-oval paving there where the Legends Oval is at some of these racetracks, but that is a real difference on the sim. Charlotte to other tracks, just like it is in real life, that turf a lot more forgiving. I mentioned Kerwin was more under threat than he was a threat, and you see that with Ryan Luza completing the pass for the number 2 spot, and it may not be over yet for the 24. He's got the better run off of the corner up top, but that number 95 machine of Parker White in this conversation from 4th as well. And now Ryan Luza, looking for his first win since 2022, is on the doorstep of Wilson.
But Evan, you're missing one very significant character in this ensemble, and he's way back in 5th. That's Tucker Minter. He's within 0.7 of a second to Parker White, and while everyone was fighting through second on back, it is a wonderful thing to see for Minter, the one-time winner already this season. You look at the battles through the top 11 and 15. There's Cozy Jr. right underneath Femi Olatunbosin. I think that battle with Blake McCandless didn't do him any well on the tire side of things. But Minter is there, and they're still being aggressive for the race lead. And behind, here's Kerwin, look to the inside, and Tucker is within reaching distance, half a second down the back straightaway, coming to 16 to go.
Yeah, a couple of things working in favor of the 97 right here. Number one is, of course, these leaders have been fighting. They have been more aggressive. Therefore, they are using up more of the good in those Goodyear tires than he has by being able to run his optimal line. Number two, he pitted later than all of the cars in front of him. His tires are 5 laps newer than 2 drivers and 6 faster than the others. So is that enough of an advantage for Tucker Minter to be able to make this thing happen? The lead 4 lined up on the outside. Minter goes to the bottom, seeking the race lead.
Through the last lap, Minter was nearly half a second faster than the front 4, but the only problem is now he doesn't have a wide track to use, and he's got to stay at the very inside to where he's made his money at points, but now he's going to get fought with, and here comes Kerwin, battle to the inside. They'll make it door-to-door for 2 rows deep, while Wilson watches with bated breath right behind. It'll be 14 laps to go when they cross the stripe next, and Minter can easily plateau. He's got to be very careful and tiptoe through the traffic if he wants to make it out.
And now he's part of the traffic that allowed him to benefit. Can he find a way through? Seth the Merchant pitted on the same lap as Tucker Minter. He's behind this pack in 6th. Still a second and change behind the leaders. He could also be a dark horse to get in this conversation if Minter struggles to find the real estate to make some moves. Still Wilson up front. On the outside, still Luza over Kerwin as he shakes that challenge by the number 24 car. Again, those lead 4 working the top. Kerwin can't get down. 3 wide in a battle for P2 with Tucker Minter on the inside, trying to make something happen sideways off the corner.
At this point of the race, it's no Avenger friends, we not homies right now inside the final 14, and Minter is trying to spearhead through them all. They're 3 wide to the inside, and now here comes Minter. Look for the lead on the bottom for the first time in a while. Wilson under heavy fire. He'll get the run out of turn 2, and may they make it 3 abreast before they get to turn 3. Kerwin thinks better of it, and Minter with the fresher tires knows ahead down the bottom, but it's not going to be an easy fight to 12 laps to go.
Almost leaning on each other that time off of turn number 4. The 97 knows the outside is going to have the better run off the corner. So to make this pass happen on the bottom, you likely need to clear that car to your outside in the center of the turn, pull up and seal that run off. He can't clear that time, and the onboard perspective shows you both the 77 of Wilson and the 12 of Luza better on the backstretch. They make up about a car length and a half with the run they get off those 24 degrees of banking. A little bit less of an advantage off of 4. Contact as the 97 and the 77 door slammed that time.
You know, Minter had been on a session where he was way faster than these guys, you know, maybe 5 to 10 laps ago, but he's running on borrowed time here. As long as he stays in this pack, he's not going to find an edge. They're going to stay side by side. They're banging on each other, nearly leaning all over the turn 2 area of the racetrack. Luza right in tow behind, and that is going to put Tucker Minter right in the rearview mirror again. He has to act quickly because he's only evening out, maybe worsening from the group. He gets a good run out of turn 4. He'll plant and fire to the inside to the final 10 laps to go will go, and Minter still fighting for the lead in turn 1.
And don't look now, but Seth the Merchant has gone from 2 seconds off to just being a second off. The 97 sideways again, just cannot get the throttle put down on the inside line. And this time he'll slide all the way to 3rd with Luza using the outside line to follow the 77 of Wilson through. So Kerwin on the bottom. The 95, Parker White is there as well. And now what do you do on board with Seth the Merchant? His tires also the same length old as the 97 car. Minter, what can you do with them?
You
New
have
leader,
to act
big
quickly.
slide off of 2.
Oh, big time slide, and they're going to be 4 wide down the back straightaways. They chase for turn 3, and DeMerchant will sling it down, fire off down the bottom of the corner. And while Minter takes the lead, DeMerchant has a lot of fire off of turn 4. DeMerchant trying for the lead, entering turn 1, final 8, and this one is far from over between the fresh tire machines.
And a 97 did exactly what he needed to do. He slid up in the center of the corner, shut the door, took the run away from the 77, but it took him some time. That 97 was in a dogfight for 10 laps. And is that going to hurt him now in the battle against Seth the Merchant? The number 14 car on the inside as they pull away from a 3-wide battle for the number 3 spot behind them. Glancing the wall off of 4 is Minter. He is still your leader. 7 laps to go. DeMerchant back to the inside again, trying to make the pass for the race win.
And there were 2 different approaches through the pack between Minter and DeMerchant. DeMerchant had a lot more time to think about the move, and then he fired off and never let go, while Minter just tried to get there methodically, but he couldn't get there, and finally is in the lead, but may be under fire for the second time. DeMerchant flings to the inside. Again, a new race winner could be at the cards if DeMerchant or Casey Kerwin or Ryan Luza can come away with the win. DeMerchant down low to turn 1. Minter up high, side by side through turn 2.
Seth the Merchant trying to get a race win to maybe turn this season around. Not in the top 20 in points, but a win could make a path to the playoffs much more accessible for him. Can he do it? The 97 Minter, already a race winner this year in Rockingham. He wants to go for a double dipping, but he's loose that time off of the corner, and on the inside, the Merchant, race leader at the stripe. Can the 14 get clear the 97? Minter gonna pinch him down. What a corner for the 97 car to get back out in front for a moment. Spinner behind. Kerwin gets turned off the corner. There will be a caution, and there will be overtime. The 24 with a stellar piece of driving to keep it out of the inside wall, but it came to blows in a battle for P3 with Ryan Luza.
They were firing off on all cylinders until they didn't, and they just got close enough to make contact, and Kerwin goes around. We'll take another look at it, but what a masterclass of defense. The stance by Tucker Minter to stay up front. DeMerchant was just about to bring him back with a side draft off turn 2 to make it even going back to the second half of this Charlotte Motor Speedway. But what a brawl between these guys, and it's going to come down to 2 laps to go, just like it did last year, where we could end up in another photo finish. And poor for Casey Kerwin there. A strong race, now going to be way back in this field just based on that one situation. He's going to be 9th, but a car is possibly not going to be in contention for the dub anymore.
We go 155 laps without a caution. And this is going to get real messy. It's going to get crazy, but a tip of the cap. These drivers have put on a show here tonight, and they are coming down pit road. All these cars with anywhere from 40 to 50 plus lap old tires. Everybody is down pit road for something, Kenneth. Let's watch again at what happened in turn 2.
I want to keep an eye if anyone takes 2 tires here on this stop. But here it is, 3 wide. Kerwin bounces off the wall just a bit, slows up. And yeah, they're just 3 abreast, all side drafting. You know, you can't really fault any of these guys for being aggressive for 3rd place. And then it's just that bit of contact that is going to send the Coca-Cola machine around. Here's a look on board from White. You'll see Luza peek through the middle off the slow apex from Kerwin. And yep, just catching the quarter panel. Nowhere for Wilson nor Luza to go. And like you said, great job for Kerwin to stay off the inside wall. And he doesn't bleed off that much track position, thankfully, because of the yellow. But still, it is a shunt to what's been a successful race. And there's another look at it. Tag. Kerwin goes around off the nose of Steven Wilson. Locks it up right before they get to the caution flag and everything settles out. I did see 2 tire calls, Evan, and it goes way deep. 17 cars took 2 tires. And that includes, obviously, the race leaders. So first car on 4 fresh Eagles. It's going to be Steven Wilson back in 19th.
Yeah, you mentioned, are there going to be 2 tire takers? And the simple answer was yes. almost all of them. Ryan Luza, I'm seeing, also took 4 tires, so he may find himself at a competitive position. We'll see. I'm showing him in 14th spot. Again, we'll wait for things to update through. There's a couple of cars who stayed out looking to get laps back that are running ahead of the leaders. Alexander Russell wants to get a lap back. So does Daniel Falkenham. They'll get waved by when the lights go out on top of the pace car. But let's talk eNASCAR overtime, because we are officially get ahead beyond our scheduled distance, so the longest race of the year gets even longer. We will have 3 attempts to finish this race under green flag conditions. All that means is we have to take the green and get around 1 lap to the white flag. At that point, it does not matter what happens. The next car under the flag stand is the winner. If a caution comes out before the white flag is thrown, we will reset once more. And again, we can have up to 3 attempts to finish this thing under green.
And there have only been 2 races this season, I believe, that have ended under overtime. One of them was the short track at Richmond that ended up in Wilson's hands, and then Daytona that came down to the victory, which also ended in Wilson's hands. But not at the 1.5 miles, not at the intermediate tracks have we seen overtime yet, although it's a small sample size. And I like the call, though. You got to take 2 tires. I'm not sure if Wilson and company on 4 will make that much gain off of the restart. They really need this one to go all the way, and even then they probably won't be able to reach around and get to the leader. So Minter trying to go for a 2nd win here at Charlotte, 2nd of the season, while DeMerchant trying to get his 1st of 2025, and a lot of hungry guys behind him. Let's see what happens.
2 tires throughout the field. Cars on 4 include Luza 13th and Wilson in 20th. if we get a couple cracks at this, could they make a difference? Tucker Minter, the car in control as we head to eNASCAR overtime. Green flag in the air. It is a great start on the inside. That top lane sputters to get going. White gonna follow through the 97. He's into the second spot.
And Zelensky nearly thought about 3 wide to the outside, but thought better, stayed in tow, and Parker White will take over second, looking 4 wide off of turn 2. That's not going to end well, and it's going to end in a crash. Jimmy Mullis, Vicente Salas among those spinning down the back straightaway, and they are causing more behind them. That's Matt Busa, I think. Jimmy Mullis, we saw him in trouble. Tyler Gary went hard into the wall. And we're going to go into a second attempt at eNASCAR overtime. Minter got away scot-free. Now he's got to try it all over again.
Well, I said it when they were coming to pit road. It's probably going to get crazy. It's probably going to get messy. And don't let that take away from the absolute clinic of fantastic racing that we have seen up until this point in this race. Those final 20, 30 laps coming to the end of the race before the yellow flag tossed us into overtime was some of the best racing I've seen ever in this series. But you get a green-white checkered, Kenneth. Drivers are going to get aggressive. Nobody's going to lift. Everybody's going to take. And we've seen 3 wide get dicey. We'll get a second look here in a moment. This was 4 wide gone wrong in turn 2.
Well, you know how I said earlier in the show how Charlotte is a very narrow 1.5-mile track? Yeah, you can't really make it 4 wide all that often, and when you do, it's going to get close and very dangerous. So they wash up out of turn 2. That's that bright yellow and blue Blake McCandless car that just slides up a little bit, no space for Salas to go, and then it's pandemonium from there. Mullis gets spun, Malik Ray gets turned around in the mix. Here's a look on board from the Spire Motorsports 7 of Femi Olatunbosin. He'll watch this develop right in front, but watch behind him as everything comes to a crawl. There is Tyler Gary, Quentin Warman getting spun around, guys getting ricocheted off the inside wall. It's a hellacious crash. Peep that black and purple number 69. That's the Florida native of Tyler Gary, loose off 2. Then he sees the crash. They're backing up. He gets hit, gets into Warman, and gets right into that little kink down the inside wall. It's a pretty gnarly place to hit. And that's a torn up E-Racer Toyota Camry as a result.
Yeah, about the worst spot you can hit on the backstretch wall. Jeff Gordon used to find all those spots. Unfortunately for Tyler Gary, it's him tonight. And, well, fortunately, it's a virtual racing. He's not going to feel that one. It did spit that car back up the road. And Timothy Holmes, as the innocent bystander, the Fastenal Ford, checked it up, was avoiding the traffic in front. Looked like he was going to be able to drive through fine. And then Tyler Gary came flying up out of nowhere and absolutely clocked that 17 Ford and destroyed it on the backstretch. So an unfortunate accident there. A lot of the cautions up to this point, only 2 of them that we had been pretty fortunate. Even Casey's spin down the back, Kenneth, at 5 to go, he did a stellar job of keeping it out of the inside wall. Not any damage in that for him, but not so fortunate on this one. There is a lot of race cars that have heavy damage.
And with the cautions that we've seen today, that meant obviously the cars could continue, even though they were involved in the spin. That included Kerwin, that included, the other spinner of Kwame Scott, who stayed off the inside wall for the most part and kept chugging along. We had basically this entire field on the lead lap for the entire race. We haven't had any attrition kick in because of the long green flag runs, but now Gary is out of this race. Holmes, Busa, and company are going to start thinking about another yellow to get the lucky dog and get back on the lead lap, while at the front, Tucker Minter has to reset and try again. It's such a hard thing as a race car driver to get right back into that locked-in mentality when you have a yellow like that breaks out the rhythm, and you have the emotions of, I'm free, I can hold on for the white flag lap, and then you have to do it all over again and relive that situation. It could be one mistake that takes a driver out of the win. Minter and White on the front row have to get ready for overtime number 2.
And the cars on the 4 tires, no opportunities to make up ground with how short that run was. Lose the 13th, Wilson in 15th. They've still got a long way to go, likely unable to use that tire advantage to get through. This will be attempt number 2 of 3 to finish this race under green in eNASCAR overtime. Tucker Minter had such a good restart on the inside last time. is the 97, able to replicate it to the restart zone. They go. Green flag in the air. It's another good one. The 97 leads the field to turn 1. Bolin to the inside of Parker White. Side by side, P2.
That's exactly what Minter wanted to see. It was a great restart by the second car in line of Graham Bolin, who's searching for his best finish of the 2025 season. They're leaning on each other behind. DeMerchant and Colin Keister go side by side down to turn 3. They're nearly 4 wide again. 3 abreast for multiple rows down the lane as Tucker Minter searches out of turn 4 for the white flag from Charlotte.
Some shuffling behind, but the white flag is in the air. This race is official. Can anybody get up and challenge the 97? Parker White took a whale of a bump from Seth the Merchant. The 14 aggressive. He gets sealed off in third. 1 car length, half a car length. What's the move for the 95 car? To the outside goes White. Tucker Minter gonna hold the bottom. Is it enough? The 95 is close, but not close enough. Sealed on the inside, and it is Tucker 2 times in 2025, race winner here in Charlotte.
What a drive by Tucker Minter, and the very last gasp for Parker White to get to second place, but Minter hangs on despite the pressure, and on the 2-tire call, Minter grabs his second win in the last 3 races in the 2025 season. Congratulations by everyone around him, and for good reason. Minter drove a whale of a race through strategy, put himself at the front with an overcut, just like Rockingham, and for the second time, Minter gets the taste of victory, this time from Charlotte.
Celebration is on in Charlotte. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and a heavily top-weighted championship standings gets even more dominant because the 97 of Tucker Minter, your latest multi-race winner in the 2025 season. He is on a groove in the midseason in the Logitech G Chevrolet. What a drive, what a finish in the Coca-Cola 160. Well, let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race, and there was plenty of them, Kenneth, over the course of this one, but no doubt the late race chaos he executed when he needed to.
I don't know if there's been a race with that many potential candidates for Coca-Cola move of the race. You know, you think of the green flag strategy that got him into the lead, but it has to be here. The attempted overtime, and what a restart it was. That's the origin of this victory in this attempted overtime. Getting Graham Bolin to the inside of Parker White staves him off from putting more pressure on the Logitech G Chevrolet, and from there it's just coasting. He will watch White get a little bit closer. That doesn't matter. He points a fantastic 3 and 4, arcs the car in the right way without a mistake, and then to the white flag, all Minter through the end. That's when White gets clear, and that just a little bit of time is enough for Minter to hang on by the thread for the dub.
Here is that big shove as Seth the Merchant gives the 95 a lot, and at this point I'm thinking he doesn't have a chance. Car length and a half a lap to go. Not likely, but as he pulls up, he gets this big run. Tucker sees it coming. He's trying to break the draft, And right there, 95 gets alongside him, but just can't make that move on the outside work. The bottom, better on the corner entry. The number 97 slides up, and then again at that point, there was a run for Parker White. There was not enough left, and Tucker Minter has secured his second race win of the season. That was a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race.
You know, Evan, I almost thought Parker was going to do the Garrett Lowe, give a bumper there in 3 and 4, but he played it clean, went to the high side where it's been quick all night long. And a great race to the finish. White recovers after a couple shaky weeks. DeMerchant gets his best finish of the year in third. And Tucker Minter, most importantly, gets his second win. There's a look at the results after the 165 laps from Charlotte, Evan. And look at the list of names. Plenty of guys who needed a strong run. Of course, DeMerchant being one of them. Graham Bolin gets his best finish of the year in fourth place. Garrett Lowe, Colin Keister, who kind of backed off after the win at Las Vegas. And the list continues. How about a great comeback by Zach Novak despite the adversity early on through the first yellow?
And we talked about this next-gen era, bucking the trends of cars who start up front and lead the most laps winning these races. That continues in this one. Not a single car who finished in the top 9 started this race in the top 11. I mean, they all picked up a lot. You get to the midfield here, some notable names. Of course, Casey Kerwin had an opportunity to lead some laps. Maybe there's a different result in this one where he ends up in victory lane. Daniel Falkingham, somebody else there in 28th position. KB at points seemed posed to be a conversation, or in the conversation, I should say, to be a race winner here.
Yeah, but a lot of guys in the back struggled, and of course that comes down to the attempts at overtime. You're just scrapping for position, and sometimes you're just not on the right end of the stick. You know, Falkingham had led a couple of laps, fell back, and he's 28th, and then we'll get a look at 31st through 40th. Ton of these guys involved in the last caution of the race. That includes Matt Busa, Quentin Warman, Malik Ray, and then Tyler Gary, Timmy Holmes. The worst hits of them all in that big stack up off of turn 2. That's what gets them out of tonight's race from Charlotte. But plenty of them hung in through a majority of the race. But at the end, it's Tucker Minter who outlasts them all and is in victory lane for the second time this year. Tucker, you joined Elite Company. Not only you, but now Ray Alfala are the only drivers in series history to have more than one win here at Charlotte, and this one came down to the wire. What are the emotions after the standoff victory from fresh tire advantage to holding them off on 2?
Yeah, I mean, it'd have been nice to win just battling side by side, green to the end, but then that added pressure, the green-white checker, and to be able to pull it off and having a great race up front with everybody, that was just a ton of fun. But I can't thank the guys, everybody with William Byron Esports and the Altus guys behind the scenes as well. We had a hot rod of a Logitech G machine. That Eagle on the side of this car was flying long run. So my lap graph probably looks really funny at the start. We were a little bit nervous on how the weather was going to play out for us, but we kind of dipped back down to the 30s. But once we got a little bit more confidence in how the car was going to handle, we were just flat flying at the end of the run.
That car was in mint condition, Tucker, through the end of that one. Take us through that strategy, though. I mean, you're on fresh tires, you're hunting down the front 5, and you think you have the lead for a moment, but they're still around fighting hard for it. How rewarding was it to get the lead after all that and walk away with the victory?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was just going to catch up to that main pack and really just drive by them. But with how fast the outside line was, and, Steven's really good at defending and everything like that, and was doing a great job holding everybody, at bay there with the tires he was on. So he didn't make it easy for sure. As soon as I heard clear, I knew I had to take it. And after Charlotte last year, I didn't feel too bad about a little bit of contact with him off of 2. So, it just feels great to have a nice long race where we have some really fun battles. That's what iRacing and everything's all about. So really appreciate iRacing being a partner with William Byron Esports this year, Celsius as well, and of course Logitech G. They make all this possible for us.
Ran through the gauntlet, and now you've got momentum for segment 2. It's a shorter one than we see for the other 2 that we encountered early, and the one that we'll have starting at Iowa in mid-June. You see the 2 tracks ahead of you, Nashville Super Speedway and Kansas. Do we see the same kind of car, the same type of drive? Because we see those 2 tracks, and I think tire degradation and discipline, although it's a not as lengthy race down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I wish the races were longer, obviously, at this point, but I think Nashville, we had a really good race last year. At least I'm biased on that, obviously, but I felt like that track races really well, and as long as we have those drawn-out green flag runs, we'll really have some comers and goers. So I think that'll be a really good race, and I think Kansas is going to end up being really similar to what we saw here tonight with the progressive banking that it has already, plus dynamic track is really tuned in well with where the tire model's at right now. So everybody's going to be bringing everything they've got. Obviously, we only have 2 races left now on this build before the big tire update. So, looking forward to seeing what we have in store for the rest of the season for sure.
It'll be fun to see. But Tucker, congratulations on your second victory of the 2025 season, and we'll see you at Nashville Super Speedway. We'll turn to the driver who comes home in third. That is Seth the Merchant. Seth, it's your best finish of the season. This car was bad fast, cutting through the field. What are the emotions like after the way the season has gone and what this finish is right now?
Yeah, I really wish I had stayed green, because I feel like I had Tucker really right where I wanted him. We both pitted off that green flag stop on the same lap, and I feel like we both went at the run in 2 different ways, where he was kind of pushing at the start to try to get through traffic, and I kind of laid back to save tires. And I got kind of lucky when he got to that top 5 there with like 10 to go. They really held him up for me. and I was able to get to him a lot earlier than I honestly thought I was going to. And I feel like, just as I was about to pass him, that yellow came out. Like we were even going down the back, and I feel like I had the tire advantage, and everything was going right until it wasn't.
Well, you grab in third. It was a standout race for not only you, but your teammate, Ryan Luza. Just talk us through how special that is for you guys to both move up to the field in kind of a synchronizing order, and for you to get this finish as you guys move on to Nashville and to Kansas in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, I feel really glad, for all the FTR XL guys that we were finally able to put both of us to a really good race together, because, we've had really terrible luck, and, we were running out the front for the majority of the race, and I just got to thank all those guys and, the Eat Sleep race for being on our cars and supporting us, and, all the Altus guys, Chris Moneyhill, I'm not sure where he finished tonight, but he really helped me this week learn how to drive this track, and without him, I wouldn't have been where I was.
Well, Seth, it's a great finish here from Charlotte. Hopefully more to come in 2025. Congratulations on the podium. We'll see you in the rest of the field at Nashville.
Thank you.
That is Seth the Merchant, P3. What a shining moment it is, Evan, for Seth. After the season, he's had only one top 5 finish as the field moves on to another intermediate track. This one's smaller than Charlotte, but one that will come down to a lot of tire wear and track position.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing is there is no more, but we'll catch you again in 4 weeks. It is the best time of the year to be a fan of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series if you love joining us, because we've got races for you each of the next 2 weeks. Nashville, though, on the docket in 1 week's time, Tuesday, May the 27th. One of the newer tracks to the schedule has been a site to many exciting races. And again, if you liked what you saw tonight in Charlotte, KB, the drivers were telling us expect a lot of the same in these next 2 weeks.
Yep, Nashville, Kansas, 2 tracks that really challenge the drivers. Kansas will probably be the highlight after tonight from Charlotte, but Nashville has brought us banger after banger, so we should see that. And with only a 4-race segment, you talk about how consistency matters through the segment that was 5 races long. You cut one down, and that makes a big difference. The aggression is going to be high. That puts more pressure on the field of drivers that want to eke their way into the playoffs. And these 2 next races and the many weeks that follow through this gauntlet that we'll have midseason is going to pay off if they're able to do well.
2 weeks left in the segment, 2 weeks left on this tire build. If you're feeling good right now, the getting's good. Maximize here as we race to the end of segment number 2. Until then, though, that is it for us here tonight from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and your broadcast team tonight, for Camille Salazar-Hadaway, Alan Cavana, Ryan Vargas on Countdown to Green, and for Kenneth Bueno and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to say thanks for tuning in. Again, we'll catch you 1 week's time. That's Tuesday, May 27th for the Nashville Super Speedway. Congratulations to Tucker Minter. The Sunoco post-race report starts right now.
Thank you, Evan. Keaton, we had a race, and then we had a late caution, and we had a completely different race because this thing just turned on its head in the last 5 to 10 laps. We saw a lot of green flag runs over the first, call it 155 laps, and then Casey Kerwin goes around to the backstretch, and the entire complexion of this thing changed.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what kind of flavor of racing you like, but either way, I think everybody ate tonight. We had a lot of strategy, a lot of comers and goers, and then at the end, just total and utter chaos as 2 drivers, actually a handful of drivers, fighting for that overall win. Tucker Minter ended up keeping it up front. Parker White had something for him there quite at the end, but didn't quite get it done. And some unfamiliar names there in the top 10, James.
Yeah, a few towards the back of the top 10 that made it, but I think you sort of leaned into this one a little bit, that the guys who were racing up there at the front, they, by and large, drove up there. Tucker Minter and Seth the Merchant in particular went and sort of ran long and had fresher tires than everybody else and then maintained that track position at the end. And they come away with podium places as a result. And Tucker 2 times, the broadcast noted, 2nd win of the year. If you are watching in chat on Twitch or YouTube, you have the opportunity to potentially submit a question that we may ask. Keaton Kusin, your initial thoughts here, just looking back on the rest of this.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. It was a treat from at least from my seats back home. But watching those the strategy play out there towards the middle of the race, seeing some drivers drive up, Tucker Minter being one of those. And speaking of which, we've got Tucker Minter up here in the booth with us. Tucker Minter, second win here recently. You got some momentum heading into this big long stretch of races we have coming over the next 6 weeks. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I wish I hadn't got wrecked taking the white flag at Talladega. It would have helped us out with the segment a little bit more. But, just got to keep trying to run up front, try to get those segment points because that would be huge for us. And just try to keep stacking up some wins and set ourselves up for the playoffs really well.
Tucker Jacobs, Human Race Face Digital. First, congratulations. Second, even before the late restarts, take us back to the battle that became 6 strong there at the tail end. How much fun was that with you at the tire advantage? I mean, that's some of the most close quarter racing I think I can remember seeing in about the last 10 years in this series. It looked wild.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to see you, Jacob. I really thought when I got there it'd be like shooting fish in a barrel, with the tire advantage that I had, but I just kind of burned them up a little bit, making up the time that I lost from extending that first run. And then the outside is just really, really powerful with the way that the track was really hot and rubbered in and everything. It made it so that you could kind of keep that momentum up, especially when they were pushing each other down the straightaway. That was really annoying for me. There's one lap where I thought I was about to pass almost all of them, and then they lined up on the straightaway and shoved all of them back by me. So it was really fun. That's what it's about racing in this series. That's why it's the 40 best at iRacing in the world, more or less. All the guys at the front can hold on to their car and race really close. And I guess we had a little wreck at the end. I haven't looked at it, but that's just going to happen with how close we were racing. So it was definitely a ton of fun to battle like that, and especially battle with my buddy Merch at the end. I was like, man, I hate to hold him up right here because he was flying, but I want this win bad.
Well, and you won here during your rookie year. That kind of propelled you, it felt like, all the way towards the championship 4. Is this year starting to feel like that rookie year for you again? And also, what's it mean? This is the longest race of the year. It's a driver's race to win at Charlotte again.
Yeah, I mean, well, now we're back to back on the long races, so that's nice. I can, maybe I'll get a nickname or something out of that. But, last year I felt like we were just as fast, if not really faster than I was in my rookie year. I was putting races together a lot better, more consistently, but we just had terrible, terrible luck. Really just the first 5 races of the year were a disaster, just couldn't get it right. And then at the end of the year, just bad luck at Michigan in the playoffs set us back from making the Final 4. So this year we've had a ton of momentum. We got wrecked at Talladega, but you're bound to get wrecked in one of the plate races. And so, it's been really nice to be able to execute really well and find ourselves at the front pretty much every week with the shot at it.
Tucker, I want to go back to that last lap and specifically that line there coming into 3, because you almost peaked high and then you sort of ran the middle. Was that sort of trying to get Parker to bait one way or another and also give yourself a little bit of leeway depending on where he moved, just to make sure you could give yourself the optimal lane going through 3 and 4 and coming out of the front stretch to take the checkered?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to give Parker the inside. I know Parker's he's a clean guy to race with. I really appreciate and enjoy racing with him. And I knew he wasn't going to just ship me to win, maybe a championship, but for the race win here at Charlotte, he wasn't going to just completely wreck me. So I wanted to make sure I had the inside, and I felt like it would be hard for him to build that momentum around the top to get to my right side through the corner and have enough of a run by the time we got to the start finish line. I ended up missing the bottom just a little bit in 3 and 4, and so I was really nervous through 3 and 4 coming to the line because I had to pedal the car a little bit and ended up sliding up, but luckily we still had just enough to hold on.
Also, a question from Evan Pusoko, of all people, sort of some famous person, I guess, on these broadcasts. What's worth more to you, Tucker, the win or me picking your paint scheme as the best in the race? His words.
Well, I mean, I'd say the win because the paint scheme being the best is obvious. Cosman has done a fantastic job with Splash and Go graphics this year, coming on board and painting our Logitech G Chevrolets for Nick and I. They just look awesome every time we show up to the racetrack. And so, to be able to run a special paint scheme this year for Memorial Day is really awesome. And with that eagle flying, I mean, you can't beat it. It looked awesome.
Tucker, we got another question from Twitch chat, and I think something that that's really important is a lot of you guys in the Coke series and top-level sim racing are not only ambassadors for your brands and whatever you work with, but for sim racing as a whole. So a question from Breaded Racing 03 is, what do you have to say to the people who want to get into the sim racing environment and iRacing as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the best part about iRacing is how accessible it is. You know, I don't come from a family that knows anything about racing. I'm the only one in my family that is even really remotely interested. If I wasn't interested in it, they wouldn't watch. And so iRacing was something that for me, I could get a steering wheel, you know, a Logitech steering wheel, and it's relatively inexpensive, especially in comparison to buying a real race car. You know, if you were to go Bandolera racing if you're young, or a Legends car or anything like that, it's a lot cheaper and more affordable. And it really gets you that seat time to see how much you enjoy racing. And I think really anybody that gets an iRacing subscription is going to say, man, this is a blast once they get comfortable racing other people, because at least to me, the competition on iRacing is unmatched.
One last question, Tucker. Maybe an obvious one, but tonight, winner of the Coca-Cola 160, what's your favorite flavor of Coca-Cola?
Just the original Coca-Cola. Unless I can get a Coca-Cola Slurpee, then, you know, I might offer the Coca-Cola Slurpee over the original, but I don't need a cherry Coke or anything like that.
I feel hurt because you just called out my favorite flavor on main right there. Just went straight for it. So
I mean, cherry's all right, but you know, if it's the only thing there, but if I can get the original, I'm gonna go with the original.
I'll meet you in the middle with a cherry Coca-Cola Slurpee. I think that seems like a fair compromise.
Perhaps.
Tucker, congratulations on your win this evening for you and everybody at William Byron Esports, and best of luck when we head to Nashville next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We turn our attention now from Tucker Minter to Williams Esports Parker White. Runner-up Parker, can you just describe from your perspective what that stretch was, especially from about lap 1, ballpark 140-ish on up until the yellow, where it was that handful of 5s to 6 racing? Is that as good as it gets with the next gen in iRacing? Because you all were all over this racetrack.
Yeah, that really is as good as it gets. That was a really fun race, really from start to finish. I mean, I'm going back a bit here, but at the start, I just felt steep through the field. I kind of thought I was going to burn my stuff off, but I just never did. But yeah, like you're saying, around lap 140, I was behind Ryan Luza there. I was just saving my tires, and I thought they were racing pretty hard for the lead. I knew Steve was on 1 lap older tires than us, so I kind of expected him to fall back. And I saw he lost a couple spots initially on that run, but he got back to the lead. So I was like, he's probably just going to stay there for most of the race. But yeah, we were able to run all over the track. It was a lot of fun. I was just trying to manage my tires that last run, and then I saw Tucker and Seth get up there, and it was really just a race of trying to keep Tucker and Seth behind us. But eventually they got through, and it was kind of a mess just trying to race there, like with every single lane working. We were all trying to protect the tops to try to protect our right rears, and it got a bit messy at some points, but for the most part, that was a really fun race.
Yeah, Parker, Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. What more, if anything, could you have done? It looked like you got to the quarter there in turn 3, but just didn't quite have enough run to be able to side draft him back to the line.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't going to send him for it. I know a lot of other drivers would have in that spot, but going out of turn 2, I knew I was going to have the run. I didn't really consider that as an option, just wrecking Tucker for the win, so I just wanted to try to do it the clean way, to square on the outside, see if that would maybe work. But I knew Tucker was going to send it off in there, and just from how my car was driving, I knew if I sent it off in there, I wouldn't make the center of the corner, and I would just lose the momentum off. So I thought I'd try the move, see if it worked. It didn't, but it was still a pretty good race there to finish.
Parker, normally we take questions from the chat. We'll let you know who this is. I'll give you one chance to guess on who asked this one. Did your haircut help you go faster today?
I have absolutely no clue who that could be, but
that would be Mom.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess so. It's been a while since I had a haircut, so I guess so. To be honest, I wasn't really feeling that confident in my pace last night in our mock race, but yeah, this race was really good. Like I said, I felt like my pace was really good the entire race. Didn't burn the tires off. Just was really solid all race.
A consummate professional. Parker, something I've noticed too is it seems like anytime there is a sort of league broadcast on in iRacing that you're up there and you're towards the front. How much of that is you downloading information for the Coke Series races versus just you trying to have some fun on an off day?
I mean, I really haven't been doing as much prep for this as I have in the past. For me personally, in a race like this, I just try to go in, not over prep myself, and I feel like that's one thing I did in the past was I just put in so much prep to the point where I get to the race and I would just have so much pressure on myself because I've been like, I would practice for 12 hours. It all comes down to this, but but now it's really just I have to lock in for the race and that's it. Just go have fun.
Parker, Coca-Cola 160 tonight. We got to ask, maybe the most obvious of questions not related to racing we could ask here on the Sunoco Post Race Report. What's your favorite flavor of Coca-Cola?
I mean, I always used to go for cherry Coke, but more recently I've always just gone for the normal Coca-Cola. I don't think you can really go wrong with that. So I probably just have to go with normal Coke.
What is this vendetta against cherry Coke this evening? Everybody's hating on it.
It's just people getting older.
Definitely not saying it's bad. It's just I haven't had it in a while. So
I would say, Keenan, do you have a take on this? You have an explanation, maybe?
It's just people getting older. You're seeing boys become men. I think it's just they can't handle the sweetness. Eventually, give them a couple years, you're going to start hearing Coke Zero in these answers and Diet Coke. That's what I'm thinking.
That could be a tasty world. I don't necessarily know if I love it here, but could be a tasty world. Parker, congratulations on your P2 run. Thanks as always for the time. We look forward to seeing you in Nashville.
Thank you, James.
Before we move on to our next driver, just because I've seen a few people say something about it in chat, the Fan Rewards promo code for those watching tonight is indeed all caps Charlotte9LP. So if you haven't had the chance to punch that in, it is Charlotte9LP. And I know there definitely been a few questions in chat about that. So wanted to make sure we hit that before we turned our attention to Seth the Merchant, who had his best run of the year for FGRSL Esports, 17th to 3rd. But it was all about that strategy at the back end of this, waiting to pit, making sure you had fresher tires than everybody else. Was that part of your game plan from the beginning, or did you sort of come up with that as you saw this progress and it became obvious to you that that was the right call?
Yeah, before the race, we our team, really Tucker, we went and we watched the last 2 years and looked at the trends of kind of what had worked before on pet strategy, and a lot of yellows have come out right before the end of the run. So we had planned to go long, and I think we were the last people to pit. And everybody pit so early that I knew that we were going to get back to them just because we had the optimal strategy in terms of just time wise. Plus we just had the better tires, and with the way the draft works, it just kind of pulls everybody back together anyways. But yeah, I don't know. The yellow came out right as I had a run on Tucker, and still happy to get a 3rd. My season's been really bad this year. I feel like I run near the front every single race, and then on the last set of restarts I get wrecked. So buried in points, but this helps us move up just a little bit more from where we were.
What's the feeling that comes with nabbing a podium finish like this? Is it relief? Is it excitement? Is it sort of a yes, we finally did what we knew we could do? Where are you emotionally now that you've got a podium here?
I mean, if coming to the race, if you told me I would get 3rd, I'd be very happy with that just because of how buried in points I am. But I feel like if that yellow didn't come out, I was passing Tucker into 3 right there, because I had finally watching the back. I have a 3 mile an hour run on him, and I'm a foot back of his front end when the yellow comes out, and I was gonna send it into that corner and try to clear him. And I don't know, I'm still very happy with the points, but it's just so close to finally winning one of these races.
Can you build on it going to Nashville? Is this the kind of situation where now you've got a good mile and a half program, and now here's an opportunity to sort of reset this season in this second segment, and as we get into this really busy stretch, you can climb your way back up and get yourself back towards top 20 contention?
I think, we definitely found some setup stuff that we've been missing, I feel like, just a little bit here. But, we only have 2 more races left until the update comes out. So I think, maybe the next 2 races I could try to make up that points gap. And then, the reset, whatever comes out with a new next-gen car, new physics and everything. And, it'll be really interesting to see who gets up to speed faster with that. Really, kind of looking forward to that just to see, because usually when that happens, it creates some separation, and sometimes you're able to find an advantage that other people don't in terms of like setup. And I believe in our group, and I think that we'll be able to come out of the gate really fast with that. And I got to stop getting in these wrecks at the end of the races, because I feel like I've performed way better than last season, and I just don't have any of the points to show for it.
Seth, first things first, good to see you. Good to have you up here. Hopefully the first of many. Second, we just talked to a good friend of yours, Tucker Minter, who's got a question for you here in the Twitch chat. And I'm assuming you're going to want the origin story to this too. What is your nickname?
He made a nickname up for me, the Fireman. Just because I had a mechanical failure with a part of my computer that caught on fire once, and he just he likes to make fun of it a little bit. So it's just just a funny little nickname that we like to use. Specifically, Tucker. Tucker likes to use it.
Are we waiting now to come up with something to fire back at him? No pun intended, or?
I don't know. I haven't thought of anything for Tucker that I can remember. I don't remember if we have a nickname. You'd have to ask Tucker that. I don't think we do.
Oh, there's still time. There's always time.
I guess the leaner or something, because he leans.
It's kind of hard to unsee it once you've noticed it.
Yes.
You've been on the sim for a long time. I actually remember running league races with you probably 10 years ago at this point. How does it feel to smack a lot of the new guys around here and be able to be on the podium tonight?
Very good. It took me a long time to get in the series. Running, I was stuck in the Road to Pro ladder there for 4 years, and was finally able to bust through last year. And I feel like I put together a pretty good rookie season, and had some pretty good runs at Nashville. I contended for the win there, and just having such a rough start to this season compared to last. It's really nice to finally run up front and just do what I know that I'm able to do if I just can be just a little bit better.
Are you sick at all of hearing Evan Pasoko broadcast your victories at this point? Because I think you've both been in the same space for God knows how long now.
Yeah, years of him doing the Rod Car broadcasts, or the Real Sim Racing broadcasts, all the leagues that I've been a part of with Evan. It's been really cool to have him commentate them over the years, and every once in a while I go back and watch those old races.
Also, Merch, question from Robert Miller Raining. What's your main setup for Marvel Rivals? Who do you play with?
Iron Man. I mean Iron Man. We play it. We're probably gonna play it right after all this is over. Me, Bobby, Chris M. Hill, a few of the guys. We just Ryan Doucette. We all like to play, Rivals really after we do some testing, and it's just a really fun game. But yeah, I pretty much play Iron Man or Cloak and Dagger are really my two characters that I play.
Creative. I like it. Question of the day for all of our drivers, this being the Coca-Cola 160, of course. What is your favorite flavor of Coca-Cola?
Oh, just, regular Coca-Cola. Just the normal kind, the Coca-Cola original, I think, right? That's what it's called.
Original Coke. Here's the thing. I'm just glad because everybody else has gone after cherry specifically, and that's my favorite. So I feel like they've just been absolutely just like guns are pointed at me tonight for whatever reason. But I'm glad that we just got a normal, nice, easy answer. Nothing, because there truly is nothing wrong with original Coke, right, Keenan?
No, that's why they call it the original. Got one more for you, Seth. Again, congratulations. Nice for you to be up here. Another nickname you have, not just the Fireman, is obviously Merch. You just heard James Pike. When are we getting merch? I feel like the name writes itself.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like it would be pretty easy merch because there's probably a bunch of merch logos, default logos. But yeah, I don't know. That's just a nickname I came up with back in the day, just because my last name being D Merchant. I just took the merch out of the part of my name, and that's just what it's been forever.
All right, I expect my 5% royalty check in the mail in the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Listen, Keenan, it's all about the two-syllable names, right? That's why we're there. That's why it happens, right? You're Keenan, I'm Pike. Anything that takes longer, we end up going way too long, right?
I got time for that. I got enough air in my lungs because all of it's being drawn out by the Blaze. I'll never do that again. I'm really sorry. Blaze Crawford, what
Really? Okay, I guess. Yeah. We'll take Keaton. Well, Keaton can go sit in the corner for a little bit after that one.
That's
Blaze,
fine.
Let's talk about your car, because to me I think it's really neat that yes, you got a great partner in Coca-Cola, but to be partnered with the official 250th anniversary of the country campaign like that, what's that experience been like for you tonight, just to have that on your car?
Yeah, that's definitely a super humbling, and makes me proud to be able to represent, the America 250 car out there for Coca-Cola and really the entire nation. Definitely, it's heavy weighing on your back thinking about that. I didn't really think about how significant that was, having that paint on the car tonight until after the race. And honestly, I'm kind of proud. I feel like I had a really solid run, especially being a rookie in the series, running up there in the top 10 for almost the entire race. But yeah, it's definitely super cool, and very fortunate to have Team Dillon Esports allow me to represent them this year.
I'll give credit to Keenan for being useful while he's in timeout, because he does make a good point in chat. If you have questions for Blaze Crawford, do send them into chat. We'll try and get them up to him so we can get you all some answers. In the meantime, what was your race like, especially before that last restart? Because we had a good eye on some of the battles towards the front of the field, the top 10, but for a lot of the racing sort of in that 7th to 15th range, what was that?
It was, I'll tell you, I started 9th, which was my best qualifying of the year, and just really set me up for success with the first green flag run. Drove all the way up to 6th at one point and feeling really good. But like you said, that 8th to 18th, 20th was a huge pack, and I was kind of at the lead of that pack as the top 6 or 7 started to pull away from the rest of us, and it was tough, man. These guys are no joke, and I really found that out tonight. These guys up front, they'll race you with respect, but they'll use every last inch. I learned that the hard way a couple times with drivers like Cozy and everything, trying to hold them off, and they weren't playing, but they raced me fair, and I can definitely respect that for sure.
Taken from our Twitch chat, Blaze, this is coming from Ohey12. It's going to be a long day of racing on Sunday. What kind of snacks you got lined up?
Honestly, I've got some other plans outside of watching the Coke 600. I'm gonna try to catch the second half of it, but I got some family and friends to catch up with. I've been really busy the last few weeks, so I'm gonna be sitting out in the sun, probably drinking a Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, soaking up some sun, and just enjoying my day off for sure.
We finally have a Coke Zero guy on the team. Let's go! It only took half an hour, however long it's been. It's my guy right there. You have a fan for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Love it.
I love you just presumed that we let you out of timeout, Keenan.
Okay!
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're free. You're free.
Thank you. All it took was complaining more about it.
So how about this, place? Since we're on the subject of food, what are you bringing to the Memorial Day cookout on Monday? What food are you cooking up?
Well, if I had the opportunity to, I'd be catering some Chick-fil-A for sure, taking care of everybody and serving some really good food. So if you guys don't know, I am a manager at Chick-fil-A. That's what I do during the week when I'm not testing and running in the Coke series. So I, outside of representing Team Dillon and Coke Zero, I'm representing Chick-fil-A. So if you guys are out there, we would love to have Chick-fil-A on the car the rest of this year. That'd be a pretty cool partnership. So I think I'd be catering some of the best chicken that you can get around here in the U.S. for sure.
I'd be down for a Coke float or a Coke ice tree. That genuinely actually sounds pretty good to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, we could also do we do frosted drinks there. We could do some frosted Cokes if anybody's into that. I'm not really huge into that, but I definitely know there are people here that are super huge fan of stuff like that. So we could do something like that, we'll get together. But that'd be fun.
So we keep them going, Kenny. We might get the secret menu out,
And in due time, James, in due time. It sounds like we were getting to spoilers.
I gotta wait,
there.
man. Okay. All right. Fine. I guess. Well, before we get too completely off the rails, Blaze, thank you as always for your time. Congratulations on a strong run this evening. Enjoy your Coke Zero per Keenan, I guess, especially, and we'll see you in Nashville next week.
Yes, sir. We'll be there trying to make this gap to the top 20 and keep going for this Rookie of the Year. We're leading right now, so that's really, really good. And that is my birthday actually too. Is next Tuesday's race for Nashville. So that'll be super exciting. Hopefully we can get it done and lock ourselves into the playoffs for sure. That'd be pretty cool to go do.
Would indeed. That'd be a great birthday present for Blaze Crawford for Team Dillon Esports. Ended up 16th this evening. Also a reminder, while we're getting ready for our next driver that we're going to chat with, that if you've got questions that you want to ask Mr. Kwame Scott, then you can dump them into our chat and see what's what. Also, seeing a few more Coke flavors come out on Coca-Cola 160 night. Cherry Vanilla getting some love in chat. Regular Vanilla Coke. I thought I saw like an Orange Dreamsicle, the Orange Dream Coke, maybe get a little bit of love earlier. I'm not sure. Keenan, do you have any additions you'd like to make on that we've missed?
I hope she's still watching, but we have Elzin Driani, who's been streaming with us. One of our Coke Oreo believers.
Yeah.
Not talked about nearly enough. Also, hi, Kami. How's it going?
What's up, guys? I love Oreos.
We were getting there.
Man, I wish I had double stuffed Oreos with me right now, but I ate them all. So.
Oh, you didn't even? Did you leave any to dip in some Coca-Cola, maybe?
No, dip in cola. I've never tried that before, and I don't think I ever will. But.
I mean, they did make an Oreo Coca-Cola, so it's not a far-fetched idea.
I'll pass on that.
He likes the Oreos clean and the Coke clean too. So.
Well, they made Coke flavored Oreos too. I was too scared to try that. I was not committed to a $4 bag of Oreos. Can I ask you for some advice on those? Do we have any insight?
So me?
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
I don't trust James on this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it might run you a little bit more than $4, but at least at my supermarket. So
fair. So Kwame, I know tough break at the end there, but before then, it seemed like a sort of good building performance, and it looked like you learned a lot over the course of these 160 laps. What do you take away from your night at Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely struggled right there in that first run. We just fired off way too tight, but we figured it out. We made the adjustments. We made all the right adjustments, and toward the middle of that race, we were feeling pretty good. We just, qualifying. I hit the wall in my lap, so qualifying at the back, we just didn't have any track position. But yeah, no, I mean, if we just need one of these races. We just need to somehow just avoid the last lap chaos. Other than that, I mean, I feel like it was a solid performance, but we'll get them eventually.
I want to go to a little bit different direction, somewhat related. I don't know if you know this, but you got a feature on the Countdown to Green this evening. I believe first time this year, I think that they ran a package on you. And for all these drivers in the Coke Series, for you guys to get that sort of spotlight, how big is that for you all, just to help sort of get your name out there and let the people know who you are?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely massive, at least for me, it's just it's a really cool feeling to know that, people recognize me, people recognize us for just what we do as, virtue NASCAR drivers. Racing has never really been something I could pursue in real life. So, racing in the eNASCAR Coke Series, that's how I approach my racing career. So, it's just really cool to have eNASCAR and just NASCAR in general and Coca-Cola, with that. It's really nice to have that platform. So, it's definitely, it's a super cool feeling.
I also want to get Justin Malilla in on this because I do know for a fact that a certain question about Mets player Mark Vientos made that package, even when it may have delayed Justin's interviews a little bit. He was not a happy camper. So, Justin, what about it now?
I just want to say, don't make me have to throw out any math, and you made me throw out math that day, and you got me in trouble, James. You did. You got me in trouble. But you know what? It was a good question, and it was a good answer, and appreciate you, Kwame.
Oh yeah, no, of course, anytime.
Me, trouble, Justin? Do you expect anything less? He should know better. He knows better so much that he's just going to say silent. So let's turn to our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, who asks, what's your game plan for watching all the racing on Sunday between Monaco and Indy and Charlotte?
My game, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch. I'm probably going to be at work, unfortunately. But who knows, maybe if I have some downtime, I'll try to catch up my phone. But I don't really, unfortunately, I don't really have one. But I'll tune in when I can.
Working? What you working on Sunday?
Nah, I'm a doorman in NYC, so I just won't have the time to watch all that, unfortunately. So, it is what it is.
Fair. Well, you go cook and make that happen. Also, since we didn't actually ask it, favorite Coke flavor, Oreos notwithstanding and connection to them notwithstanding.
Favorite Coke flavor. I just like the good old original Coke. You can't go wrong with that ever. I'm pretty basic when it comes to Coke flavors. So,
Keenan, I feel like you have a take on this, or at least a take on something.
I mean, so first of all, from a note from the booth, Drew Adamson's looking for work, so I don't know if you can get him in somewhere. He thinks that being a doorman is a cool job, but especially in New York City. I know you probably can't tell us a lot, but any celebrity sightings, anything that you've seen with what you're doing?
Celebrity sightings? Not really. No, I can't say. I work like kind of Middletown, but I guess so. I ran into the one of the co-owners of Trackhouse. His name is
close.
That's pretty close. He counts as a celebrity, right? But yeah, I believe his name is John. So I highly doubt he's watching this right now. But he would have an idea of who I am.
Touching once again on your New York background, how are the Mets going to beat the Phillies for the NL East?
Same way we did earlier this year in that series the other week. As long as our hitting has been slowing down a little bit, but as long as we have Lindor firing on all cylinders, we should be fine. And also, if they keep Nola, the Mets kill Nola, so we love to see that. But I highly doubt Nola will be pitching in by then, so we'll see.
James, it is not always about NASCAR. Sometimes, and only sometimes, it is about the Mets, baby. I love the Mets, baby.
All about the Mets. If only I had my Mets headband. I wish I was wearing my Mets headband, but I decided I left it in the back for this race, unfortunately. But next time.
We'll see you on camera with it next week, right?
Next time for sure.
There we go. I'll hold you to that.
Honestly, that on an onboard, I like, and even as a Phils fan, like I can respect that, right? Respect the grind, right?
Of course.
Fair. Do you have any plans to get into real life races this year? I know not Watkins Glen's not terribly far.
No, to Glen. I meant to go to the Glen last year, but Dover, I'll be at Dover for sure. Dover, I really wanted to go to the 600, but work. But I will be at Dover. I'll probably be at Lime Rock too to catch the trucks. So that's actually like only an hour away from me. So Lime Rock, Dover, and the Glen, and I don't know. Those three are confirmed. We'll see about the rest.
Our producer Drew also makes the point that if you go to Lime Rock, you're not terribly far away from iRacing headquarters in Massachusetts.
Oh.
So just a passing thought.
Stop by a little bit. Okay.
Go say hi. Maybe go film a little bit.
I'll put it on the itinerary. I got you for sure.
So, all right. Well, Kwame, we'll let you go hang out, have fun with it. Appreciate the time, and we're looking forward to seeing you with that Mets headband in Nashville, even though I don't know if I personally will love it on one end, but it would be neat to see the representation on the other side. So, as we turn our attention, let's go into the other half of FTRSL eRacing's two-prong punts. Ryan Lusa had a good run and ends up 15th this evening. And we're going to pivot, actually. I know Jacob Seelman has had some questions for you. So, Jacob, how about you lead us off with all this? Because you've been sort of hanging tight for a little bit.
Well, I've only been hanging tight because you apparently put me in timeout worse than Keenan. I feel completely ignored over here.
How does it feel, Seelman? You can't let him take control of this show. This is our show, not his show.
Thank you, Keenan. All right, sorry, Lusa. You were right up in the middle of this for the first time in a while. Did you let yourself have that moment 2/3?
All right, that might be why we put Seelman in. That might be.
There may have been reasons
I'm
for
trying
that.
to think what the end of that question was, but
Something I heard 2/3 come out, and I was trying to figure out where that sentence was going off the back of that. Seelman, maybe if you're back, are you okay? Are you alive? Do we need to, have you put your right foot in and then your right foot out again or something? Justin, could you finish that? You've got a brain here on this. You're a journalist. You think like he does.
I can't step into the mind of one Jacob Seelman. He's
okay. Well, how about this? Well,
and finish that.
Well, yeah, we'll give Jacob a little bit to finish this stuff. In the meantime, though, Ryan, let's start with, we'll go with the fun side first, because we've been asking everybody what their favorite Coke flavors have been all night. So, do you have like a particular one that stands out to you?
I mean, the most drank Coke for me is just the regular Coke. But as a kid, I loved cherry Coke. Still, every now and then I'll get a cherry Coke from like Sonic or something. Sonic always has the best drinks. But probably just regular though. Definitely can't go wrong with regular Coke.
I'm claiming that childhood love of cherry Coke is yet even more evidence for the cherry Coke supremacy. I think that's what I'm taking, since it's been me against the world tonight. Let's see if Jacob's ready though, and maybe we can get another shot at this question here. Silva, do you want to have another go with it?
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great.
Good talk. So, question for you, Ryan. First of all, nice to have you up here. Secondly, are you planning on getting back to the Snowball Derby this year?
Probably not. That was most likely just a one-off. It was a great opportunity, and I'm really thankful that I was able to even do that. Didn't really think that was something that I was ever going to get to do. But yeah, really expensive, as we all know. So that was our one shot. Kind of just a bunch of dominoes started flipping and falling. And I had known Anthony Campy pretty well, and he had reached out because we were originally thinking about getting in his pro car. And then whatever happened with Chandler's funding, and then I think Gio was going to be next in line, but he was going to TRD, so he ended up running for Donnie. So kind of just like a bunch of things just fell in place there to even have the chance to do it. But yeah, that was most likely a one-off thing, unfortunately. It was a great experience to get to do. But every now and then I go back and watch it just to, kind of relive it. But, hopefully, I'm not going to say no. But it's probably pretty unlikely, but, you never know.
We talked to Seth a little bit earlier, kind of the same thing as you both have been around the sim for a long time. You specifically have been in the Coke series for, almost as long as some of the other drivers have been alive. Question from the Twitch chat from Trisha Emil is, how long have you been in the series? And then on top of that, how do you feel that helps you now versus a lot of those jumping up from rookies? Just as an aside, that would be Parker, who said Parker? That'd be Tucker Minter's mother.
Parker, no, that's Parker's mom.
So, my first year was 2017. So that's what, 8 years. It seems crazy to me because I still feel like I'm one of the younger guys, but clearly that's not true anymore. And honestly, it doesn't really feel like an advantage anymore. I kind of wish that I could be, 17 to 20 again. And I was looking at stats last night, and it kind of was a little bit depressing. I have one top 5 in the last 42 races, which is just insane to me. I just feel like the luck has not been there. Whenever we have speed, just can't seem to close these races out. But tonight, I mean, this was probably one of my best races in this car. Just really trying to find that speed that we used to have and just work hard and get back to, competing for wins. So tonight was definitely a step in the right direction. Hopefully we can, keep coming with the speed. Just need a little bit of luck. I mean, I feel like since the 2020 championship race, my luck has just been so bad. But all I can do is keep showing up and doing the best that I can, and eventually the bad luck will end. So hopefully sooner than later, though.
Well, I want to dig into that just a little bit, because you're one of the few drivers in this series that has experience running 3 different almost packages, I guess is where, maybe not generations, but you ran NA18D, you've run the next gen, you've run the high horsepower, low downforce package of the Gen 6 before NA18D. So has the adjustment to the next gen, especially compared to NA18D, maybe been a little bit trickier, I guess, than it was from one sort of package to the other within the same generation of car?
Yeah, I mean, it's been hard for me. I don't know really what it is. Like, I try to sit down and diagnose it, but with the older cars, it always just fit the way that I drove naturally, right? I didn't have to adjust anything or do anything different than what I just grew up learning racing in real life or whatever. It was always just natural, and it fit for me. But with the next gen, it just has never really clicked, I feel like, and the way that you drive this car just doesn't really fit the way that I like to drive. So it's been a lot of learning and adapting and just trying to get better. So I'll keep working at it, and like I said, tonight was a really good showing. I mean, I started 31st and just drove through the field. It's probably one of my best runs in this car. So hopefully, this can translate, and we'll be good coming up here at Kansas and Nashville, and then we have the new build. So we're going to be scrapping everything and, just learn it all again.
Jacob,
I was going to say, can you hear me? Am I good now?
We can hear you now, Jacob. Yes.
Fantastic. Sorry about that, Luza. Apparently I broke technology tonight. So back to what I was trying to say at first. 2/3 of that race through, you're sitting there right in the middle of all of this, and I'm curious, did you let yourself think about the possibility of, hey, we might actually win one of these for the first time in 3 years? Or in the back of your mind, are you just waiting for the other foot to drop? Because it feels like every time you've been close, the other foot eventually drops.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to have a really good chance at it right there when we pitted, but I don't know if the broadcast caught it. Bobby had some kind of mishap getting on pit road, and I think him and Casey lost about a second there getting on pit road. And then Tucker and Seth went 5 or 6 laps longer than us, and then I kind of thought that if we had enough pace as that 5-car little pack that we were, maybe we could keep them from getting to us. But that whole last run, I really thought that Tucker and Seth were going to get there no matter what, and their advantage was just going to be too much to kind of overcome. But before that, I mean, we were right there in the mix. I thought we were going to have a really good shot at it. But I definitely should have just went longer on that run, and tried to put myself in the position of having the tire advantage like Tucker and Seth did. They definitely made the right call, clearly. And then, of course, I didn't take 2 on that last stop and got myself stuck, there in 15th and just couldn't really do anything. So frustrating for sure to end up 15th after a run like that, starting 31st and just driving through everyone. Was a great showing, but just couldn't capitalize again on that top 5.
Real quick, you told me at the beginning of the year during production day that you wanted to get back to finding the fun in this series again. Some of those battles that you were in tonight and got to see at the end, I mean, was that fun? I know Parker, when he was up here, said that that's some of the best you can get out of this service, what we saw late in the race.
Yeah, I mean, that stretch that we had with 18 to go to 10 to go was definitely wild. We were all driving so hard to try to keep Tucker and Seth back there on their advantage, and we're all just kind of hoping that their advantage is going to go away the longer we can hold them off. But yeah, it was great racing for that whole stint really between us, and just Casey like barely scraped the wall, and I was content where I was. But once he got in the wall, I felt like I had to shoot the gap in the middle, and there just wasn't quite enough room on the outside, and I felt like I was getting squeezed by Steven. And we just came together, unfortunately. Really hate that happened. It was a guaranteed top 5, and that happened. I made the wrong call on the pit stop, and there we are, 15th all of a sudden. So definitely wish I could have that back and just kind of sit there and see what developed with Tucker and Seth racing each other like that for the win, because you never know, they might wreck each other, and then we're in the spot for the win there. But definitely incredible racing by everyone up there.
Ryan, thank you as always for the time. Congratulations on a strong run tonight. Definitely one of your best, I think, in the next gen, and looking forward to see if you can build on that momentum in Nashville in a week's time.
Thanks, James. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so Keenan, I'm going to save you a little bit because two things. One, to her great credit, Parker's mom did say that she would claim Ryan as one of her own. We love Parker White's mom in this household. She's
writing a personal apology letter to Mrs. White as we speak.
Exactly, right. A, and B, you mentioned Tucker Minter, and it actually reminded me of a fun fact that I was going to bring up, and that is that Tucker Minter happens to share a hometown with NASCAR and Fox pit reporter Caitlin Vinci, both of them from Warrenton, Virginia. So, fun facts here all around on this Sunoco post-race report. Here's another look at the top 10. Keenan, Tucker, Parker, Seth, Graham, Colin, Garrett, Cozy, Novak. Novak with a heck of a rebound after he got called out on pit strategy. I don't think that got talked about barely at all the rest of the race, but he was running about 39th and then manages to come back for a top 10, just underscore the consistency that program's had.
Yeah, again, we can't talk to everybody, unfortunately, so it's really good to see some of those names up there. Cozy Jr. having a great run as well. Nice to see his name up in the top 10. Steven Wilson being able to stay in the top 10. He's going to be, as always, a threat for the rest of the season and one to keep an eye on, James. But yeah, really great show here today. It was awesome to watch the kind of race within the race and then the race at the end as well. Lots of different storylines. We'll had a lot of time to breathe this race this afternoon, this evening, and hopefully we get much more of the same as we enter a 6-week stretch of constant racing basically here every Tuesday night.
If you want lots of Coke Series, you're going to have lots of Coke Series. And that continues next week when the series strums its way along to the Music City. Nashville is where we'll be next. That broadcast will kick off next Tuesday night, 7:30 Countdown to Green, 8 p.m. race broadcast on eNASCAR.com/live. For all of us at iRacing, for our producer Drew Adamson and the wonderful team behind the scenes, and for all the talent that you heard tonight, for Camille Salazar Hadaway, Alan Cavana, and Ryan Vargas on the Countdown to Green show, for Evan Pisoko and Kenneth Bueno on the race broadcast, and for our team on the post-race report, for Kaden Kusin, Jacob Seelman, and Justin Lillo, I'm James Buck. Thank you all so much for watching the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, Coca-Cola 160 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend and all the racing that will come your way. Congratulations to William Byron Esports, Tucker Minter, and we will see you next Tuesday night from Nashville.